Hello and welcome to Build Systems, Not Goals, a life-changing audiobook from Liberty Audiobook. I am your narrator, and I am here to share a profound truth that has been quietly reshaping the lives of high achievers for centuries, a truth often overlooked in our goal-obsessed world. Success, true, enduring success, does not belong to the most talented, the most motivated, or even the most ambitious among us. In the long run, it belongs to those who build systems that keep producing results, long after the initial burst of motivation fades, long after the excitement of a new beginning wears off, and long after the fickle crowd has moved on to chase the next shiny object. The prevailing wisdom tells us that success is about sheer effort, push harder, work longer, want it more. But this mindset, while well-intentioned, often leads to burnout and frustration. Effort without structure leaks. Effort without robust systems burns out. Effort without clear direction becomes nothing more than wasted potential, a tragic expenditure of precious life force. In this audiobook, we will pull back the curtain on how high achievers actually operate. All will delve into the timeless wisdom that underpins lasting accomplishment, exploring philosophical insights and historical examples that illuminate the power of intentional design. Because behind every great career, every powerful personal transformation, every long-term win, every enduring legacy, there is a system quietly running in the background. It is the invisible machinery that transforms fleeting dreams into concrete processes, turns consistent processes into ingrained habits, and elevates those habits into predictable, meaningful outcomes. When you truly grasp this principle, you stop frantically chasing success, and you start, instead, engineering it. You reclaim your agency, your personal liberty, and your peace of mind. This audiobook will be your blueprint, showing you how to architect your unique definition of success, one that resonates with your deepest values, not just external expectations. We will guide you to set up routines that work even when you do not feel like working, designing environments that effortlessly support your most cherished goals, and building financial and mental models that compound over time, creating exponential returns. You will learn to strategically delegate and automate where possible, freeing your most valuable resource, your focused attention. And crucially, you will discover how to maintain the entire machine so it never collapses under pressure, ensuring your progress is not just achieved, but sustained. In these chapters, we will build the foundation that most people ignore, a foundation rooted in timeless principles of order, foresight, and disciplined execution. We will replace wishful thinking with intentional design, and we will approach success the way the greatest builders, artists, and founders have always done, by constructing a resilient, adaptive system that makes winning not a matter of luck, but an inevitability. This is not just about achieving more. It is about achieving more freely, with less stress and greater purpose. It is about building a life where your efforts are amplified, not exhausted, and where your journey toward your truest aspirations feels less like a struggle and more like a steady, joyful unfolding. Let us begin. Chapter 1. Architect. Your definition of success. Most people are, quite simply, chasing a vision of success they have not even bothered to define. They wake up, work hard, stay busy, feel stressed, and then wonder why nothing truly meaningful ever compounds in their lives. The reason is as simple as it is profound. You cannot build a robust, effective system for an outcome you have not clearly, precisely, and deliberately described. Consider the foundational wisdom of any builder, any architect, or any great inventor. They always start with a blueprint. An architect does not begin pouring concrete before a meticulously crafted vision is on paper. They would not dream of it. They begin with a vision, a clear, deliberate understanding of what the final structure is meant to be, how it will function, and what purpose it will serve. Yet, in our personal and professional lives, most of us begin with pure hustle. We start with activity, with noise, with a frantic flurry of motion. And activity without clarity, as history and a personal experience repeatedly show us, leads invariably to exhaustion instead of achievement. It is the difference between building a majestic cathedral and simply piling up bricks in a yard. Before you can lay a single brick of your personal system, we must decide, with unwavering clarity, what that system is supposed to produce. Not vaguely, not loosely, not someday I will be successful, but clearly, deliberately, and in exquisite detail. Your definition of success must be specific enough to guide your daily actions, to illuminate the next right step, yet flexible enough to grow and evolve with you as you mature, gain new experiences, and discover deeper truths about yourself. If your definition is too blurry, you will inevitably drift, like a ship without a rudder, at the mercy of every passing current. If it is too rigid, too unyielding, you will break under the inevitable pressures and changes of life. The sweet spot, the true genius, lies in a vision that is anchored in a deeply personal purpose, yet leaves ample room for intelligent evolution. Here is a truth that many find uncomfortable. Most people avoid defining success with such precision because it requires radical honesty. It demands looking inward, past the societal expectations, past the curated perfection of social media, past the dreams your parents or peers might have imagined for you. It requires asking, your version of success, what truly matters to you, what specific outcome, what feeling, what contribution would make you genuinely proud a decade from now? What experiences, what struggles, what sacrifices would make it all worth it? When you dare to honestly answer these questions, something transformative happens. Incessant noise around you begins to lose its power. The debilitating comparison to others fades. The anxiety-inducing FOMO, fear of missing out, dissipates. External pressure releases its grip. Why? Because you finally know with absolute certainty what you are actually trying to build. You have claimed your intellectual and emotional liberty from external dictates. Once you have meticulously defined your success, another powerful phenomenon occurs. Trade-offs become immediately and blindingly obvious. If you declare, success for me is building a profitable, self-sustaining business that I can operate from anywhere in the world, allowing me geographic and financial freedom, then you instantly know which skills truly matter: digital marketing, sales, operational efficiency, which daily habits are non-negotiable, focused work blocks, learning new tools, and crucially, which appealing opportunities are merely distractions disguised as progress. When success remains undefined, amorphous, and vague, everything looks like a possibility, a potential path. But when success is defined, when your blueprint is clear, most things instantly become irrelevant. They become noise. That clarity, that precise filtering mechanism, is an unparalleled form of power. There is another crucial layer to this, one that impacts the very fabric of your well-being. Your definition of success must, by necessity, include lifestyle, not just achievement. We have all seen, or perhaps even experienced, the tragic irony of individuals who succeed magnificently on paper, yet fail miserably in their actual, lived lives. They accumulate wealth, but lose their health, physical or mental. They achieve status, but forfeit their peace. They become respected by the world, but never truly become happy within themselves. The system you build cannot merely be an engine for external wins. It must be a supportive framework for a life worth living. So, beyond the tangible achievements, dare to ask, what do I want my days to feel like? What pace do I want to move at? What kind of energy do I want to bring into the world, to my relationships, to my contributions? Most people never ask these profound questions until it is far too late, until they find themselves with the trophy but without the joy. Now, listen carefully to this liberating truth. When you design your definition of success, you are not locking yourself into an immutable, unchangeable prison. Far from it. You are simply giving yourself a clear, compelling direction, and directions can change. You can refine the blueprint, pivot the strategy, or even entirely reimagine the destination. But wandering, aimlessly drifting without a conscious direction is incredibly expensive. Wandering costs you precious time that you can never reclaim. It drains your finite energy. It squanders your hard-earned money. It erodes your confidence, leaving you adrift. And in many cases, it fragments your very identity, leaving you unsure of who you are or what you stand for. You do not need to know every single detail of the journey from the outset. That is impossible. But you do need to know where you absolutely refuse to end up. And you need to know what matters enough, truly enough, to pursue with intentionality and courage. When you architect your definition of success with this level of clarity, your system, the magnificent structure you are about to build, finally has a purpose. Without that, you are just building momentum without meaning, generating activity without direction. And that, my friends, never, ever leads to the life you actually want to live. It is the first act of self-liberation, the foundation upon which all other systems are built. Chapter 2. Stop chasing results. Build the machine. The allure of results is powerful. Results are visible. They gleam brightly on the surface. Results are exciting. They generate applause and recognition. Results are what make other people pay attention, granting status and validation. What you see on the outside, that glorious finished product, is only the final, outermost layer of achievement. Behind every impressive result, every apparent overnight success, every enduring creation, lives an invisible machine, a complex, interconnected system, built patiently, piece by piece, refined meticulously over time, and sustained through the quiet, consistent operation of its well-designed components. The fundamental problem is that society, in its hurried, often superficial judgment, largely rewards outcomes, celebrates the gold medal, the best-selling book, the profitable quarter, the beautiful physique. It rarely, if ever, acknowledges, understands, or even sees the intricate, often mundane structures and processes that created those outcomes. And so we grow up obsessed with the dazzling results, while ignorantly overlooking the profound machinery of achievement itself. This pervasive blindness is precisely why so many dedicated, hard-working people labor tirelessly, yet remain perpetually stuck. They are chasing the sweet, ripe fruit, instead of investing the time and effort into learning how to cultivate and grow a resilient, fruit-bearing tree. Consider any field where lasting success is evident. In the realm of business, profit is the celebrated result. The machine, however, is the innovative product or service, the strategic marketing, the empathetic customer service, the efficient operations, the robust financial systems, the consistent hiring processes, and the culture that nurtures talent. In fitness, a strong, vibrant body is the result. The machine is the consistent training regimen, the mindful nutrition plan, the disciplined sleep schedule, and the recovery protocols that become ingrained habits. In writing, a finished, impactful book is the result. Machine is the daily writing routine, the unwavering discipline to show up, the systematic editing pipeline, the organized ideas workflow, and the continuous learning about craft and audience. The moment you truly understand this crucial distinction, the difference between the result and the machine that produces it, your fundamental question shifts. You stop asking, how do I just get the result? And you start asking, with a profound sense of strategic clarity, how do I build the machine that reliably produces this result, again and again, over time? That singular shift in inquiry is what separates amateurs, who often rely on sporadic bursts of inspiration, from professionals who rely on the unyielding power of engineered systems. Results are inherently temporary. They are moments in time. Machines, when well built and maintained, are durable. They generate value continuously. Results are often one-time achievements. Machines are repeatable. They offer predictable output. When you chase results, you find yourself constantly having to start over, reinventing the wheel with each new aspiration, fueled by the exhausting pursuit of the next immediate win. But when you build the machine, in essence, does the chasing for you. It operates with a quiet, persistent hum, working when you are tired, when you are uninspired, when life gets busy, or when motivation is nowhere to be found. Why? Because systems do not rely on fluctuating moods, raw willpower, or fleeting enthusiasm. They rely on robust, intelligent structure. But here lies the challenge, the psychological hurdle that trips up so many. Building the machine is in its nascent stages often boring. It lacks the immediate gratification, the visible fireworks that results offer. Results are exciting precisely because they are visible, because they can be shared and celebrated by others. Systems, by their very nature, are quiet, invisible, and often tedious to construct. They do not shout, they do not brag, they do not deliver instant dopamine hits. And because of this profound lack of immediate reinforcement, most people abandon the system long before the results, which always lag behind the initial effort, ever have a chance to compound. They fail to realize that the majestic power of compounding does not reward the impatient. It exclusively rewards the consistent. This is a foundational principle of timeless wisdom. Patience, applied to consistent action, is the ultimate leverage. Let us pause here for a moment, because this point, this mental pivot, is utterly critical. Consider the person who wakes up one morning and declares, "I need to get rich." That person, despite their fervent ambition, is already at a significant disadvantage compared to the individual who says, "I need to build a financial system that makes it impossible for me to stay poor, a system that compounds wealth automatically," or the person who exclaims, "I need to get fit." They are already behind the person who thoughtfully asserts, "I need to build a lifestyle and a set of habits that make staying fit automatic, a natural byproduct of my daily existence." The aspiring writer who says, "I want to write a book one day," is far behind the one who states, "I need a writing system that reliably produces pages every single week, regardless of how I feel." The difference, you see, is not in the raw ambition. It is in the underlying architecture. It is the difference between a spontaneous outburst and a carefully engineered trajectory. This is a core tenet of liberty. Building systems frees you from the tyranny of reactive desire and allows you to proactively design your future. When you chase results, you become deeply outcome dependent. Your self-worth, your motivation, your very perception of progress becomes entirely measured by whether the desired result has audibly and visibly shown up yet. But results, in almost every domain of human endeavor, often lag significantly behind the work. There is always a delay, a natural incubation period. Seeds take time to germinate and grow. Skills take time to stack and mature. Trust takes time to build in relationships. Markets take time to recognize and reward value. And if you succumb to impatience and quit during this crucial delay period, you will never, ever make it to the payoff. Because the payoff, the fruit of your labor, always lives on the other side of enduring patience and consistent execution. When you shift your focus to building the machine, your attention moves away from the fickle scoreboard and squarely onto the process itself. The scoreboard still matters, of course. It is the ultimate measurement, the external validation, but it is not, and should never be, your daily compass. Professionals, the true masters of any craft, do not rely on the scoreboard to stay motivated, day in and day out. They rely on robust, predictable systems that make progress not just possible, but inevitable. They meticulously build the routines, the workflows, the checklists, the feedback loops, the micro-habits, and the supportive environments that create steady, undeniable progress, regardless of whether their motivation is soaring high or dipping low. This consistent, process-driven approach is a hallmark of true mastery and personal freedom from emotional volatility. And here is a powerful, liberating truth. Once the machine is built, once the system is installed and running, results become a beautiful side effect. They become the natural, unavoidable output of the intelligent inputs you have carefully engineered. You no longer have to force success with gritted teeth and strained willpower. You no longer have to frantically chase it, feeling perpetually behind. You simply run the machine, you adhere to the process, and the machine, in its quiet, consistent way, produces the desired outcomes over time. This is precisely why some individuals appear lucky to the casual observer. They are not lucky. They are simply running a meticulously designed machine that the rest of the world cannot see or chooses to ignore. Perhaps no one ever told you this, but chasing results burns out the soul. It breeds anxiety, fuels crippling comparison, fosters corrosive impatience, creates deep insecurity, and generates chronic stress. It binds you to external validation. Building a machine, on the other hand, builds quiet, unshakable confidence. That confidence comes from the serene internal knowing that your system is sound, your structure is solid, and your machine works. You do not need to boast. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You do not need to rush. You simply keep running the process, day after day, week after week, because you know with deep conviction exactly where it leads. This is a form of safe sovereignty, a liberation from the whims of external opinion. So, if you genuinely want to change your life, to build a future of enduring accomplishment and quiet freedom, stop asking for the outcome. Stop wishing. Start designing the precise mechanism, the resilient system that reliably produces it. The results will show up when they are ready. The machine comes first, always. It is the path to a life where success is not just achieved, but sustained with grace and power. Chapter 3. Install habits that work. When you do not, there comes a point in every journey, in every endeavor, where the initial surge of motivation inevitably fades. Energy dips. Life gets loud and complex. Circumstances become messy, demanding, or simply overwhelming. This, tragically, is where most dreams quietly die. Not because the individuals lacked ambition, intelligence, or even initial drive, but because they relied exclusively on fleeting feelings and raw willpower instead of the enduring power of robust systems. Feelings, by their very nature, fluctuate. They are mercurial, unreliable, and easily swayed. Habits, however, endure. They are the quiet, persistent gears that keep the machine of your life turning, regardless of your internal state. The real, profound purpose of habits is not merely self-improvement for its own sake. It is the strategic installation of specific behaviors that continue to run, almost automatically, even when you are tired, profoundly distracted, emotionally drained, or utterly unmotivated. In essence, habits keep your carefully designed system running efficiently when the human operator, you, is not at 100% capacity. They are the ultimate form of self-reliance, a true expression of personal liberty from the whims of your own mind. The common mistake many people make is believing that habits perpetually require immense discipline to maintain. It is actually the opposite. Habits are precisely what replace the need for constant discipline. Discipline is undoubtedly needed at the beginning, during the crucial installation phase. Much like setting up a new intricate machine requires initial, focused effort. But once that machine is properly installed, once the habit is deeply grooved into your neural pathways, it runs with minimal conscious cognitive demand. Consider simple, everyday examples. You do not brush your teeth every morning because you are a paragon of discipline. You brush them because the habit is so deeply installed, so automatic, that not brushing feels strange or uncomfortable. You do not check your phone first thing in the morning because you are consciously motivated to engage with social media. You check it because the habit is installed, triggered by proximity and years of repetition. Habits make behaviors automatic. And it is these automatic behaviors, far more than the heroic sporadic bursts of effort you perform on special highly motivated days, that ultimately determine the long-term trajectory of your life. They are the silent architects of your destiny. Think about your goals for a moment. Goals tell you, intellectually, what you want to achieve, what destination you aspire to reach. Habits, on the other hand, tell you experientially who you are becoming, and this is a fundamental truth. Identity always beats desire in the long run. You can fiercely desire to be healthy, to possess a vibrant, energetic body. But if your daily habits are unconsciously built around convenience foods, sedentary living, and late-night scrolling, your identity as someone who defaults to ease will consistently win. You can deeply desire to be wealthy, to achieve financial freedom. But if your ingrained habits are centered on impulse spending, avoiding financial tracking, and neglecting investment, your identity as someone who is bad with money will inevitably win. You can yearn to be creative, to produce original work, but if your daily habits are primarily built around passive consumption, instead of active creation, your identity as a consumer will win. This is precisely why lasting success, true and meaningful change, always stems from installing habits that quietly, consistently support the identity you authentically want to step into. It is a systematic, internal rebellion against a past self that no longer serves your future. But let us simplify this powerful concept further, making it eminently practical. Habits are, at their core, simply repeated behaviors shaped by consistent cues, supportive environments, and satisfying rewards. If you want to create habits that reliably work even when your motivation is absent, you must strategically design them to be 1. Simple to start, 2. Frictionless to perform, and 3. Satisfying enough, however subtly, to repeat. Complexity is the silent killer of consistency. Many people fail in their pursuit of new habits, not because they aimed too low, but because they aimed far too high, making the habit so heavy, so demanding, that it became utterly unsustainable. They declare, "I am going to run 5 miles every single day, read for 2 hours every night, wake up at 4:30 a.m., Drink a gallon of water, meditate for an hour, journal, stretch, and completely overhaul my nutrition, all in 1 week. This grand, ambitious plan feels exhilarating for about 2 days. Then, inevitably, life happens. Stress hits, unexpected demands arise, and the entire towering stack of new behaviors collapses under its own unsustainable weight. You do not need an extreme, heroic plan. You need a sustainable, intelligently designed system. The profound secret to building enduring habits is scaling them down to their smallest, most ridiculously executable version. Want to become a prolific writer? Commit to writing 1 single sentence a day. Want to become physically fit? Commit to 5 push-ups, or a brisk 10-minute walk, or a single set of squats. Want to build profound financial awareness and eventual wealth? Commit to tracking just 1 daily expense. These tiny, seemingly insignificant actions may feel negligible, even silly, at first. But they are not merely actions, they are powerful identity installations. Each small act, consistently performed, sends a clear message to your subconscious. I am someone who shows up. I am someone who follows through. And once that new, empowering identity begins to take root, the volume and scope of your behavior naturally, organically increase. You do not have to force growth with Herculean willpower. You simply upgrade the habit gradually, once the established identity can comfortably support it. This systematic progression is a pathway to true, lasting internal freedom. Another critical element in installing habits that work reliably without external motivation is leveraging your environment. Environment, as countless studies and timeless wisdom confirm, is consistently stronger than raw willpower. If your phone, with its infinite distractions, is always within arm's reach, social media will, more often than not, win the battle for your attention. If junk food is perpetually stocked in your pantry, cravings will eventually win. If your workspace is chaotic, cluttered, and disorganized, procrastination will find an easy foothold. But if you intelligently prime your environment to support your desired habit, the habit itself often becomes easier to perform than the alternative. If you want to read more, place the book prominently on your pillow, on your coffee table, or next to your morning coffee cup. If you want to exercise, lay out your workout clothes the night before, so the first decision of the morning is eliminated. 4. If you want to write, keep your writing document open on your computer, your notebook and pen readily accessible. Every habit, no matter how complex, has a trigger, a cue that initiates the behavior. The smart, strategic move is to design those triggers intentionally, stacking them in your favor. Finally, for habits to truly endure and contribute to your system, they must be connected to some form of feedback. Without feedback, habits remain invisible, their slow, incremental progress unseen and therefore unreinforced. You must find a way to see the streak, to measure the progress, or to track the input. Not to judge yourself harshly, but to provide visible evidence that reinforces the system itself. Humans are inherently wired to repeat behaviors and actions that they can visibly see improving. This is precisely why habit tracking, even in its simplest form, is so powerfully effective. It transforms invisible, often abstract progress into tangible, visible evidence. And visible evidence, my friends, is the most potent fuel for unwavering consistency. In the end, the ultimate purpose of intelligently installing habits is elegantly simple: to remove your fluctuating feelings from the equation of your success. When powerful habits are deeply installed, the machine of your life continues to move purposefully toward your desired outcomes, even on the days when you do not feel like participating, when you are overwhelmed, or when life simply demands too much. That, my friends, is when success stops being a dramatic, exhausting struggle and starts being a quiet, undeniable inevitability. It is the bedrock of a life lived with purpose and sustained freedom. Chapter 4. Turn big goals into repeatable processes. Most people are captivated by big goals. Big goals feel inspiring. They paint grand visions of a desirable future. They make you feel as if you are moving towards something profoundly meaningful, something worthy of great effort. But here is the uncomfortable yet essential reality. Big goals without clear, repeatable processes are nothing more than fantasies with arbitrary deadlines. They may sound impressive when you articulate them in conversations or write them down in New Year's resolutions, but they fundamentally fail to translate into tangible, consistent action. And when something does not consistently translate into action, it cannot, by its very nature, compound over time. People often get frustrated, feel defeated, and eventually abandon their aspirations, not because their goals are inherently impossible, but because those grand goals never evolved, never made the crucial leap to become concrete, repeatable processes. They skipped the vital bridge between a compelling vision and consistent, real-world execution. Let us make this profoundly practical. Imagine, if you will, 3 distinct stages on the path to any significant achievement: the dream, the plan, and the process. The dream is the ultimate, desired outcome. It sounds like, want to build a massively successful, impactful business, or I want to lose 30 pounds and feel truly vibrant, or I want to write a groundbreaking, best-selling book, or I want to achieve complete financial freedom. The plan is the overarching strategy. It encompasses the how, the who, the when, the resources, and the general sequence of major steps. But the process, that is the crucial, often overlooked, granular reality of what you actually do on a specific Tuesday morning at 9:15 a.m. and then again on Wednesday and again on Thursday. Most people, caught in the allure of aspiration, stop at the dream. A smaller, more disciplined percentage manage to formulate a coherent plan. But very, very few, the elite few who consistently achieve extraordinary results, actually build the robust, repeatable process. And it is to these very few that the magnificent results ultimately belong. Turning a big, inspiring goal into a precise, repeatable process is an act of profound clarity. It meticulously removes ambiguity. And ambiguity, my friends, is a silent, insidious killer of results. If you wake up each morning looking at your grand goal and do not know the exact, specific next step to take, your brain, wired for efficiency and self-preservation, will almost always choose the easier option, the path of least resistance. The human brain abhors uncertainty even more than it dislikes effort. This is why mindlessly scrolling social media, a path of absolute certainty, feels infinitely easier and more appealing than starting a high-value, complex or uncertain task. One offers immediate, predictable sensory input. The other presents a daunting void of the unknown. Processes, by their very design, eliminate decision fatigue. You do not have to wonder what to do. You already know. You simply run the system. This is a core tenet of mental liberty, freeing your mind for higher-level strategic thought. Here is the key distinction, the fundamental difference that separates sporadic effort from sustained progress. Goals need motivation to initiate action. Processes need consistency to sustain it. Motivation is an excellent, fiery fuel for starting a journey, for igniting the initial spark, but it is, as we have discussed, notoriously terrible for sustaining long-term effort. Consistency, on the other hand, is a quiet, powerful force that does not care how you feel on any given day. A process is simply a precisely defined sequence of actions that, when repeated diligently and systematically, produces a predictable, desired outcome. That predictability is precisely what makes systems so incredibly powerful. It means you are not guessing your way through life. You are not hoping for luck. You are not improvising your way to success. You are, with conscious intention, executing. To effectively build such a process, you must engage in a practice known as reverse engineering the outcome. Start with the ultimate result you desperately want to achieve. Then, with an analytical mind, ask, what are the primary drivers, the key components, that reliably produce this specific outcome? Once you have identified those primary drivers, ask again, what are the foundational behaviors or sub-processes that reliably produce those drivers? You continue this meticulous breakdown, peeling back layers until you arrive at small, manageable, concrete actions that you can realistically perform daily or weekly without undue strain. That, precisely, is the critical juncture where the abstract big goal transforms into tangible, consistent behavior. If, at any point, the behavior you have identified feels impossible to perform consistently, you have not broken it down far enough. It is still too big. Or it's simple. If the grand goal is to write a book, you do not actually need to write a book on any given day. You need a robust, daily writing process. Perhaps it is, write 500 words per day at the same time, e.g., 7 o'clock a.m., in the same distraction-free place, e.g., your designated writing nook, with the same trigger, e.g., a cup of coffee. That consistent process, repeated over time, produces chapters. Chapters, systematically accumulated, produce books. If the goal is to lose weight and achieve optimal health, you do not need to get shredded tomorrow. You need a sustainable health process. This might involve meal prepping healthy lunches and dinners twice per week, training 3 times per week with a specific routine, ensuring 8 hours of quality sleep nightly, and tracking calories or protein intake for awareness. That consistent process, applied diligently, produces physical transformation. If the goal is financial freedom, you do not just need to make more money. You need a robust financial process. Track all expenses weekly, automate a consistent investment amount monthly, and dedicate a specific block of time each week to expanding earning ability through skill acquisition or strategic networking. That process, consistently executed, produces wealth and financial liberty. Systems, at their core, are simply well-designed processes that are allowed to compound over time. But here is something most people crucially overlook. Processes must be realistic relative to your current life context and capacity. You cannot build a process that demands more discipline than you can realistically generate, requires more time than you can genuinely allocate, or involves more complexity than you can comfortably sustain. A truly good process feels entirely doable, even on your most stressful, busiest days. A great process works reliably, even on your worst days, when motivation is at an all-time low. Best processes, the truly transformative ones, keep working their magic even when you are utterly tired, profoundly busy, or completely unmotivated. They are your allies in the relentless march of life. Another critical element, one that fuels intelligent iteration, is measurement. The timeless maxim holds true. What gets measured adjusts. When you meticulously measure this process, e.g., did I write my 500 words today? Did I complete my 3 workouts this week? Did I track my expenses? Instead of obsessing solely over the ultimate outcome, you gain much faster, more precise course correction. Processes consistently, producing measurable progress. You have the data to confidently continue. for forces is not yielding the expected results, you have the data to intelligently iterate, to diagnose the breakdown, and to redesign. Without this essential measurement, you cannot tell whether your system simply needs more patience to bear fruit, or if it fundamentally needs a redesign because it is flawed. And this distinction matters immensely, because many people prematurely quit systems that would have eventually worked had they simply kept going. Conversely, many others stubbornly keep running ineffective systems that never work, precisely because they never bothered to objectively evaluate them. When you finally succeed, it is rarely, if ever, because you heroically achieved a goal through raw willpower alone. It is because you meticulously built a robust, repeatable process that, over time, made achieving that goal not just possible, but fundamentally inevitable. And once that powerful process exists, once that machine is built, you gain incredible leverage. You can scale it, refine it, delegate components of it, automate parts of it, or compound its effects. That, my friends, is how monumental, enduring success is truly built, not from one spectacular heroic effort, but from countless small, deliberate actions, repeated consistently over time. This is how you stop being a perpetual dreamer, always chasing, always hoping. This is how you become a builder, an architect, a master of your own destiny, forging a path of true, sustainable liberty. Chapter 5. Engineer environments that pull you forward. Most people, when attempting to change their lives, try to do so through sheer, brute force willpower. They resolve, they commit, they push, they try to outmuscle their existing patterns, not realizing a fundamental, yet often overlooked, truth. Willpower is, in the grand scheme of human behavior, one of the weakest, most finite forces at our disposal. Environment, on the other hand, is consistently, overwhelmingly stronger than willpower. It is the silent, pervasive force that shapes what you instinctively notice, what choices you effortlessly make, what behaviors you naturally repeat, and what standards you unconsciously tolerate. If you genuinely want to change your results, to build a life of intention and freedom, you do not need to somehow become superhuman. You need to intelligently engineer an environment that makes your desired behaviors easier, more accessible, and more natural, and simultaneously makes your undesired, counterproductive behaviors harder, more effortful, and less appealing. When your environment is thoughtfully designed, when it acts as your silent partner, progress feels natural, almost inevitable, instead of being a constant, exhausting battle against yourself. Think of it in this profound way. There are two primary versions of you. There is the motivated version, the one who, after listening to an inspiring audiobook like this, is fired up to go to the gym, read the insightful book, diligently work on the important project, and resolutely say no to every tempting distraction. This version is a superhero. But then there is the tired version, the one who, after a long, stressful day, will inevitably skip the workout, mindlessly scroll through their phone, and postpone those crucial, important tasks to an undefined later. Most people try to build their entire lives assuming the motivated version of themselves will miraculously show up every single day. The smarter, more sustainable, and ultimately more liberating strategy is to build a life and a system that robustly supports the tired version of you. Because that is the version that truly needs help. That is the version that desperately needs the intelligent scaffolding of intentional design. Your environment is not just your physical surroundings. It is a multi-layered tapestry that includes your digital landscape, your social connections, your emotional climate, and even your ideological worldview. Each layer exerts a powerful, often invisible, influence. Your physical environment directly influences your daily habits and actions. Your digital environment relentlessly influences your attention and focus. Your social environment subtly, yet powerfully, influences your standards and aspirations. Your emotional environment dramatically influences your decision-making processes and resilience, and your ideological environment shapes your fundamental worldview, determining what you believe is possible, normal, and acceptable. When all of these interconnected environments are consciously aligned with your overarching goals and identity, momentum becomes not just possible, but wonderfully automatic. Let us start with the most obvious and tangible, your physical environment. The objects, the layout, the very air around you. They either create debilitating friction or proactively remove it. If you genuinely want to read more, ensure your books are visible, open, and inviting, not hidden away in dusty drawers or on inaccessible shelves. If you want to exercise consistently, lay out your workout clothes the night before, put your gym bag by the door, or keep your running shoes next to your bed. If you want to eat healthier, stock your kitchen abundantly with nutritious options that align with your goals, and ruthlessly eliminate or make inaccessible anything that tempts you away from them. People often speak of discipline, but often, what appears to be discipline is simply the intelligent absence of temptation within easy reach. Small, seemingly insignificant physical changes can reshape your behavior more effectively and with far less internal struggle than 1,000 motivational speeches. This is the physical architecture of liberty, freeing you from constant internal battles. Now, consider your digital environment. Your phone, your computer, your entire online world are constantly, relentlessly competing for your most precious resource, your attention. Notifications, those tiny digital nudges, have been meticulously engineered by brilliant minds to hijack your focus, to pull you away from what matters, not to support your long-term goals. 44. If your digital environment is chaotic, it, and constantly demanding, your mental bandwidth will be utterly drained before you ever even get to the tasks that truly matter, to the deep work that produces real value. A high-performing digital environment is, therefore, organized, intentional, and rigorously filtered. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Clean up your digital workspace, organizing files and applications. Ruthlessly unfollow content that steals your attention without genuinely feeding your ambition or intellectual growth. Digital chaos is a pervasive, modern form of self-sabotage. Digital minimalism is not an aesthetic preference. It is a profound efficiency and mental clarity strategy. Then there is your social environment, the people you choose to interact with, the communities you join, and the implicit or explicit expectations they collectively set. Most noble goals, unfortunately, wither and die because they are pursued within the wrong social environment. If you consistently surround yourself with individuals who find pride or comfort in complaining, in procrastinating, in gossiping, in settling for mediocrity, or in numbing themselves with fleeting distractions, then those behaviors will, over time, come to feel normal, even acceptable. But if you intentionally surround yourself with builders, with lifelong learners, with disciplined individuals, with those who are actively creating and contributing, then those behaviors, excellence, curiosity, execution, self-mastery, will become your new normal. Humans are tribal by nature. We instinctively rise or fall to the expectations and prevailing norms of our tribe. Choose your tribe, your inner circle, with profound wisdom and intentionality. This is social liberation, choosing those who uplift your highest self, Your emotional environment matters as well, a domain often overlooked in our pursuit of external success. If your internal or external environment constantly triggers stress, insecurity, anxiety, or distraction, your brain, in its ancient wisdom, will prioritize immediate survival over long-term growth. Creativity, and deep work require a sense of psychological safety, not a constant state of threat response. This does not imply that life must be perpetually comfortable or devoid of challenges. It means you must consciously eliminate unnecessary emotional noise and drama. View it like cleaning a precision workshop. You simply cannot build something intricate and precise if a constant shower of dust and debris keeps falling onto your project. Cultivate peace. Finally, your ideological environment refers to the ideas, narratives, and fundamental beliefs you expose yourself to. If you predominantly consume stories of victimhood, of limitation, of scarcity, and of hopelessness, those narratives will insidiously become your unconscious mental frameworks, shaping what you believe is possible for yourself and the world. Conversely, if you deliberately consume stories of resilience, of strategic problem-solving, of human achievement, of profound possibility, then those ideas will become your guiding frameworks. Your brain, your ultimate operating system, cannot consistently outperform its own deeply held belief system. This is why the books you read, the mentors you seek, the podcasts you listen to, and the content you consume are not merely sources of entertainment or information. They are powerful recalibrators of what you perceive as normal, what you believe is achievable, and what you aspire to become. When you master the art of engineering environments that proactively pull you forward, you no longer have to rely on the exhausting, ephemeral force of motivation to get things done. The environment itself does the pushing, the prompting, the supporting. Progress becomes less about fighting an uphill battle against your own nature, and more about gracefully aligning your surroundings with the highest vision of who you want to become. In the long run, the environment, with its relentless, subtle pressure, always wins. The smartest, most liberated path is to ensure, with intentional design, that it is consistently winning in your favor. Chapter 6. Remove friction from your future success is not merely about doing more, grinding harder, or adding new, complex routines to your already overflowing plate. More often than not, it is about the strategic removal of invisible obstacles, the subtle, insidious barriers that keep you from doing what you already profoundly know you should be doing. Most people mistakenly assume their problem is a fundamental flaw in their character, a lack of discipline, or an inherent laziness. But more frequently, the true culprit is friction. Those small, seemingly insignificant barriers that slow down action just enough to cause a moment of hesitation. And hesitation, allowed to fester, inevitably transforms into avoidance, procrastination, and ultimately, inaction. Friction does not need to be dramatic, loud, or overtly destructive to sabotage your progress. It simply needs to be persistent, a constant, low-level drag that gradually wears down your resolve. Think for a moment about how effortless it is to engage in behaviors that require virtually no setup, no planning, and no mental load. Checking your phone, endlessly scrolling social media, mindlessly snacking, or binge-watching another episode. Those behaviors are fictionless. They demand no preparation, no specific tools, no conscious decision-making. They simply happen. Now contrast that with behaviors that inherently possess friction. Preparing a wholesome, home-cooked meal, committing to a workout at the gym, focusing on a long-term, complex project, or diligently learning a new, challenging skill. These activities demand thought, specific setup, dedicated time, and often a clean, prepared space. The human brain, a magnificent organ, evolved for efficiency and survival, is instinctively wired to avoid friction whenever possible. Not because it inherently hates growth, but because growth, particularly when it is new and uncertain, costs precious energy. And the brain's default, ancient survival mode, is to conserve energy, not to expend it unnecessarily. Therefore, the strategic act of removing friction means consciously making the right, beneficial behaviors easier to start, more accessible, and more appealing. Simultaneously, it means making the wrong, detrimental behaviors harder to engage with, less convenient, and less tempting. For example, if your goal is to exercise consistently in the morning, the simple act of laying out your workout clothes the night before eliminates the friction of decision-making and searching when you are groggy. If you want to eat healthy, prepare your meals in advance, or organize your groceries so that the nutritious option is the most convenient, immediate choice. If you aim to write daily, keep your writing tools, your laptop, your notebook, your open document ready and accessible rather than buried deep in folders or requiring a convoluted setup. Every single time you consciously reduce friction, you reduce the cognitive tax required to simply get started. At starting, as we all know, is often the single hardest part. This is the practical application of liberty, freeing yourself from internal resistance. But friction does not exist solely in the physical world. There is also a pervasive modern form of digital friction, the relentless clutter of apps, the incessant barrage of notifications, the constant stream of messages, and the myriad of open tabs on your browser, all pulling your precious attention in 10 different directions. Digital friction steals your focus, and focused attention is the non-negotiable payment required for any meaningful progress, any deep work, any creative breakthrough. If it takes you 5 minutes to locate the correct file, or if your digital workspace is a chaotic mess filled with tempting distractions, you are not lazy. You are simply working against an immense, unnecessary resistance that you have allowed to accumulate. Digital minimalism is not an aesthetic choice for the tech-savvy. It is a fundamental efficiency strategy, a liberation of your cognitive resources. Remove the digital clutter, and your brain can finally, truly focus. Then there is emotional friction. This type is particularly powerful and insidious precisely because it often hides behind what we call procrastination. Emotional friction manifests as internal doubts, fears, and anxieties. What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if this is not good enough? What if it does not even work in the first place? These pervasive doubts create hesitation, and hesitation, allowed to linger, invariably creates delay. If you do not consciously address and mitigate emotional friction, you will unconsciously avoid the very behaviors that possess the greatest potential to transform your life and grant you greater liberty. The solution is not to simply suppress the fear that is often an unsustainable battle. Instead, it is to strategically reduce the stakes. Instead of striving to write a perfect, publishable chapter, commit to writing for just 10 minutes. Instead of launching an entire, fully fledged business, test one small, low-risk offer. Instead of attempting to reinvent your entire life overnight, commit to changing just one single, small routine. Small, manageable steps dramatically reduce the emotional weight, making action feel less daunting and more achievable. We also contend with logistical friction, the kind that arises from poor planning and insufficient structure. If every single aspect of your life, every task, every appointment, every reminder, every coordination must be manually planned, individually scheduled, personally remembered, and constantly coordinated, you will inevitably drown in an ocean of micro-decisions. your cognitive load will become unbearable. Systems thrive on predictability. Predictability, by its very nature, eliminates logistical friction. A simple, consistent schedule can dramatically outperform the most heroic, yet sporadic, intentions. A weekly plan, thoughtfully laid out, can achieve far more than a series of impulsive, exhausting sprints. The more you standardize, systematize, and make predictable, the less raw willpower you need to expend on the mundane, thereby preserving it for strategic, high-leveraged decisions. One of the most underestimated, yet profoundly impactful, forms of friction is social friction. This comes from people in your life who, intentionally or unintentionally, slow you down, pull you sideways, or subtly undermine your ambitions. Folgfraus. If you are consistently surrounded by individuals who question your goals, interrupt your routines with non-essential demands, or actively discourage your focus and ambition, you will inevitably require twice the effort to produce half the results. Social friction does not always stem from overtly toxic relationships. Sometimes it simply arises from misaligned priorities and differing values. You do not necessarily need to cut people out of your life entirely, but you absolutely need to establish firm, respectful boundaries to protect the parts of your life that matter most to your growth and freedom. Removing friction is not about making life entirely effortless. That is an unrealistic fantasy. It is about strategically removing unnecessary resistance so that your precious effort can flow freely, powerfully, and effectively toward progress, rather than being constantly diverted into fighting against self-imposed or externally created obstacles. Imagine two runners. One is sprinting on a smoothly paved track, while the other is attempting to sprint through thick, adhesive mud. The second runner is not less ambitious, less dedicated, or less capable. He is simply running in an environment that actively fights against his every stride. Many people are, unknowingly, sprinting through mud every single day without ever realizing that they possess the agency, the liberty, to change the very ground beneath them. The secret, therefore, is profoundly simple. Make the right actions as easy and as attractive as possible, and simultaneously make the wrong, counterproductive actions as difficult and as unattractive as possible. When your physical environment, your digital tools, your daily schedule, and your ingrained habits are meticulously designed to remove friction from your future path, progress becomes less about constant force and internal struggle and more about unstoppable momentum. That is precisely how intelligent systems win. Not by overpowering your inherent weaknesses or constantly battling your impulses, but by strategically removing the multitude of tiny things that endlessly trip you up, allowing you to move with flow, purpose, and profound personal liberty. Chapter 7. Create mental models that make better decisions. Every successful system, whether it is a personal routine, a thriving business, or a powerful nation, begins with a series of good decisions. And every truly good decision, every insight that cuts through the noise, begins with how you think. In its often superficial assessment of success, likes to celebrate visible action, relentless hustle, and raw, unyielding effort, we are conditioned to admire the visible grind. What truly separates average performers from extraordinary ones is not just that they work harder, or even that they work smarter in a narrow sense. It is that they think better. They possess a superior framework for understanding reality. They see patterns that others entirely miss. They predict consequences that others ignorantly ignore. They grasp the intricate dance of cause and effect with profound clarity. And crucially, they adjust their course and their systems intelligently long before the rest of the world even reacts to emerging trends or inevitable changes. This superior ability to navigate complexity, to see beyond the immediate, and to make consistently better decisions, does not come from some innate, unteachable talent. It comes from the deliberate cultivation and application of mental models, powerful, structured frameworks that help you interpret reality more accurately, understand complex situations, and make decisions with greater efficiency and foresight. A mental model is simply a structured way of thinking about how something works in the world. It is a lens, a filter, a map. Without a robust collection of diverse mental models, life often feels random, chaotic, and unpredictable. Small setbacks become overwhelming crises, and obstacles feel intensely personal, a direct attack on your worth. But with a rich arsenal of mental models, setbacks transform into invaluable data points, and obstacles become intriguing design problems to be solved. You stop reacting emotionally, impulsively, and defensively. You start, instead, responding intelligently, strategically, and with a deep sense of agency. And that profound shift from reaction to intelligent response changes absolutely everything about your trajectory and your experience of liberty. We often dramatically underestimate how profoundly our thinking shapes our outcomes. If your only mental model for achieving financial success is the simplistic work hard and save, you might labor for decades without ever building true, lasting wealth. This model, while possessing a kernel of truth, ignores the crucial power of investing, leverage, compounding, and strategic income generation. If your only model for health and fitness is the equally simplistic, eat less and move more, you will inevitably struggle, because that model ignores the nuanced interplay of nutrition, psychology, environmental design, hormonal balance, sleep, and recovery. If your only model for successful relationships is try to be nice, you will fail to understand the complexities of authentic communication, healthy boundaries, constructive conflict resolution, and fundamental compatibility. The more limited, simplistic, or inaccurate your mental models, the more limited, frustrating, and often chaotic your results will inevitably be. One of the most powerful and fundamental mental models you can cultivate is second-order thinking. This involves looking beyond the immediate, first-order consequence of an action or decision and asking, and then what? Most people stop at the immediate payoff, the instant gratification, the dopamine hit, the perceived convenience, or the tempting shortcut. But second-order thinkers, the true architects of enduring systems, meticulously look at the long-term, cascading outcomes. Choosing entertainment over learning feels good now, in the moment. But what compound effect does that choice create over weeks, months, years, or decades? Choosing convenience over disciplined effort feels easy today. But what kind of future, what kind of life does that repeated choice inexorably build? Second-order thinking is the bedrock of building systems that proactively serve your future self, rather than merely indulging your present mood or fleeting impulse. It is a profound act of foresight and self-governance. Another incredibly influential mental model is inversion. Instead of asking the conventional question, "How do I succeed at X?" Inversion prompts you to ask, "How do I avoid failing at X?" This seemingly simple reframing can unlock immense clarity. If you want to get in great physical shape, instead of listing all the things you should do, ask, what are the specific behaviors, the consistent actions that absolutely guarantee failure in my fitness journey? Identify those pitfalls, e.g., eating excessive junk food, skipping workouts, chronic sleep deprivation, and then systematically remove them from your life. If you want to build enduring wealth, ask, What are the common behaviors and traps that consistently destroy wealth? Identify them, e.g., excessive debt, impulse spending, panic selling investments, lack of financial literacy, and rigorously avoid them. Inversion simplifies complex goals by shining a spotlight on the obvious mistakes that almost everyone makes. It is often easier to eliminate failure variables than it is to perfectly optimize every single winning variable. This model grants a profound clarity, freeing you from unproductive complexity. Then there is opportunity cost. This powerful economic and philosophical concept suggests that every single choice you make, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, has a hidden price, the value of the next best alternative that you did not choose. People often say yes to things that feel harmless or even slightly beneficial without truly recognizing the profound opportunity cost embedded within that yes. Saying yes to excessive overtime at work might grant you more money in the short term, but it might cost you your precious health, your relationships, or your creative energy. Saying yes to endless distractions might temporarily relieve boredom, but it might cost you your skill development, your deep work output, or your ability to focus. Saying yes to every social obligation might make you feel popular, but it might cost you crucial momentum in your business or personal projects. When you internalize and truly understand opportunity cost, the simple word no transforms from a negative, uncomfortable refusal into a strategic, empowering tool, a protection of your most valuable resources, and a declaration of your liberty. Consider also the vital mental model of feedback loops. Most outcomes in life are not linear. They are the result of iterative, compounding processes. When you consciously build robust feedback mechanisms into your personal systems, continuous improvement becomes not a chore, but an automatic, natural function. Pilots have meticulous checklists and post-flight debriefs. Investors pore over detailed reports and analyze market data. Elite athletes have coaches, video analysis, and performance metrics. Creative artists engage in multiple revisions and seek peer critiques. Builders conduct regular audits and quality checks. Without well-designed feedback loops, you are destined to repeat the same mistakes, never truly learning or evolving. With them, you gain the profound capacity to evolve, adapt, and refine. Mental models do not just improve decision-making, they dramatically reduce emotional volatility. When something inevitably goes wrong in your system or your life, instead of spiraling into self-blame, anger, or despair, you automatically analyze. Instead of taking it personally, you ask, with detached curiosity, what variable did I miss? What assumption was flawed? What crucial feedback is reality now giving me that I can integrate? This mindset shifts you from a place of victimhood to a place of powerful agency. Life becomes less about what happens to you and infinitely more about how intelligently and strategically you respond to it. This is the essence of self-mastery and true freedom. Most people, unfortunately, consciously upgrade their mental models. They continue to operate using outdated rules learned in childhood, in school, or from conventional wisdom, applying them to the complex, nuanced challenges of the adult world. They rely on motivational slogans instead of strategic frameworks. They assume that effort alone, raw exertion, is the sole determinant of success. But effort without understanding, without a sophisticated set of mental models to guide it, is simply expensive trial and error, often leading to exhaustion and disillusionment. The right mental model, applied at the right time, can save you years, even decades, of painful, wasteful trial and error. And here is the key, the liberating secret. You do not need to master hundreds of obscure mental models. Even a handful, intelligently understood and consistently applied, can profoundly transform your trajectory. Cultivate models for making critical decisions, models for accelerating your learning, models for intelligently assessing risk, models for optimizing your precious time, models for cultivating healthy, impactful relationships, and powerful models for understanding and building wealth. Each new model you install sharpens your thinking. Each new model upgrades your entire system for success. When you deliberately install and continually refine better mental models, life becomes less chaotic, less reactive, and infinitely more intentional. You stop relying on blind luck, fleeting emotion, or impulsive whims. You start relying on robust structure, sound reason, and a wise perspective. That is how systems think. And when you learn to think in systems, with the clarity and foresight that mental models provide, success stops being something you desperately chase and starts being something you intelligently, predictably design, a testament to your newfound intellectual liberty. Chapter 8. Build a financial system that pays you back money in its rawest form is one of the clearest, most undeniable examples that lasting results emerge from intelligently designed systems, not from mere wishes, hopes, or fleeting desires. Most people, quite naturally, crave financial freedom, the ability to live life on their own terms, to pursue their passions without the constant spectre of economic anxiety. Yet, tragically, they rely on abstract hope instead of concrete architecture to achieve it. They desire higher income without diligently building the high-value skills that consistently produce it. They wish for lucrative investments without cultivating the rigorous discipline required to consistently fund those investments. They yearn for wealth without proactively constructing the foundational financial behaviors that make wealth not a lucky accident, but an inevitable outcome. The universe of finance does not respond to fervent desire alone. Money responds with remarkable predictability to well-engineered systems. Robust, resilient financial system, whether personal or corporate, has three interconnected core parts: earning, keeping, and multiplying. The vast majority of individuals, conditioned by societal narratives, focus almost exclusively on the first component, earning. They relentlessly chase higher salaries, launch various side hustles, seek promotions, or embark on ambitious business ventures. And while earning is undeniably crucial, it is the initial fuel for the engine. It is only 1/3 of the complete financial mechanism. If you succeed in significantly increasing your earnings without simultaneously building sophisticated systems for keeping and multiplying that money, your elevated income invariably becomes mere lifestyle fuel instead of potent wealth fuel. It will disappear as fast as it arrives, absorbed by lifestyle inflation and unconscious spending. This is precisely why so many individuals find themselves earning more than they ever have in their lives, yet still experience chronic stress, live paycheck to paycheck, or drown under a mountain of ever-growing obligations. Income without a thoughtful system transforms into unmanaged consumption. It is a hamster wheel, not a path to liberty. Let us dissect the first component, earning. Income is not simply about how hard you work, though effort plays a role. It is fundamentally about the market value of what you can consistently do or produce. If you genuinely want to raise your income, you must strategically increase one or more of three powerful levers: your skill value, your leverage, or your scale. Skill value rest refers to the difficulty, rarity, and demand for what you can produce, the specialized expertise that few others possess. Leverage is your ability to achieve a disproportionately greater output than the hours you personally put in, typically through the intelligent use of technology, capital, specialized tools, or the coordinated efforts of other people. Scale refers to how many people your product, service, or output can effectively reach or serve. A sophisticated financial system acknowledges these levers and consciously, intentionally, works to upgrade them, not accidentally stumble upon them. But earning alone, as we have established, is insufficient. You must also master the art of keeping money. This is the stage where financial systems truly begin to separate the truly wealthy from the perpetually aspiring. Keeping money is not about extreme, joyless frugality, though mindful spending is certainly a part of it. It is primarily about profound awareness, intentional allocation, and diligently avoiding the silent, insidious leaks that drain your resources. Many people are not broke because they do not earn enough, but because they simply do not track, understand, or direct where their money flows. Untracked money, like water in a sieve, inevitably evaporates. A robust personal financial system includes meticulous tracking of expenses. Even a simple spreadsheet or app can suffice. Intentional budgeting that aligns spending with your deepest priorities instead of impulse, and automatically funneling a portion of every income stream into savings and investments. Money, before it ever leaves your account, should have a clear, deliberate purpose. When money does not have a purpose assigned by you, other people's priorities, marketers, advertisers, social pressures will invariably claim it for you. This is the foundational step to financial self-governance. Then comes the third, and perhaps most exciting, component: multiplying your money. This is where a truly intelligent financial system truly begins to pay you back, compounding its benefits. Multiplying money means consciously converting a portion of your hard-earned earnings into assets, those things that reliably produce more returns, more income, or appreciate in value, instead of simply generating bills or expenses. Assets can take many forms: wisely chosen investments, stocks, bonds, real estate, a profitable business that generates cash flow, digital assets, intellectual property, like books, patents, or courses, high-value skills that produce significant future income, or, indeed, systems that generate passive or highly leveraged income streams. The ultimate purpose of multiplying is elegantly simple: to shift your financial reality from a perpetual state of working for money to a powerful state where your money is intelligently working for you. This is the ultimate financial liberty. However, multiplication requires one more crucial ingredient that too many people overlook: time. Compounding, the eighth wonder of the world, does not reward the impatient or the short-sighted. It demands consistent, persistent engagement over extended periods. That is why an effective financial system must also meticulously protect against specific behaviors that actively sabotage compounding: panic selling during market downturns, unchecked lifestyle inflation that constantly absorbs new income, inconsistent investing, starting and stopping, and chronic, short-term thinking. Wealth is not just an economic concept. It is, at its core, a profound psychological one. If you cannot master the impulse to chase every fleeting desire, if you cannot defer gratification, you cannot effectively control your financial trajectory. A well-designed system, therefore, acts as a benevolent guardian, protecting you from your own impulsive self. But here is something rarely discussed: a deeper truth about financial systems. They also include how you handle information and knowledge. Most people operate financially using outdated models, often inherited from a bygone era. Our educational institutions teach us mathematics, but rarely, if ever, teach us the practical, strategic art of managing and multiplying money. We are trained, largely, to be earners, employees, or consumers, not strategic builders, investors, or financial architects. A modern, effective financial system consciously includes continuous education, reading insightful books, enrolling in relevant courses, seeking out knowledgeable mentors, and studying powerful financial frameworks that consistently upgrade your understanding of how money truly works. You do not need to become a certified economist, but you absolutely need a clear, functional mental model for how money flows, how markets behave, how value is genuinely created, and how risk is intelligently managed. This continuous learning is the intellectual fuel for financial liberty. Finally, robust financial systems always include proactive protection. Concepts like adequate insurance, health, life, disability, fully funded emergency savings, sound legal structures for businesses and assets, and intelligent risk hedging are not exciting topics. They are not glamorous, but they are absolutely foundational. Wealth does not collapse primarily from a lack of growth. It often collapses from a catastrophic lack of protection. Without robust protection systems in place, one major emergency, one unforeseen lawsuit, or one significant health crisis can swiftly erase years, even decades, of painstaking progress. Intelligent builders do not just ask, "How do I grow my wealth?" They also, and perhaps more importantly, ask, "How do I ensure I do not lose what I have already meticulously built?" The most important mindset shift you can embrace is this: truly wealthy and financially free people do not primarily rely on their current income alone, though income is important. They rely on intelligently designed systems that reliably generate multiple streams of cash flow, systems that automatically reinvest a portion of their returns, systems that strategically reduce tax drag, systems that convert their precious time into appreciating assets, systems that continue working, generating value, and compounding returns even when they choose to stop working. When you consciously commit to building a financial system that consistently pays you back, you fundamentally exit the survival economy, where you are constantly trading time for money, and you enter the strategic economy, where you deploy resources for long-term gain. Money stops being something you frantically chase and becomes something you wisely manage, strategically direct, and powerfully multiply. That, my friends, is when financial freedom stops being a distant, ephemeral dream and starts being a predictable, undeniable mathematical outcome, a tangible expression of your hard-won liberty. Chapter 9. Optimize your time like a founder. Time is the ultimate equalizer, the only resource every single human being receives in identical daily amounts: 24 hours, 440 minutes, 400 seconds. Yet the vast, often staggering gap in outcomes between people, the difference in what they create, experience, and achieve, can be enormous. Why is this so? Because most people manage their time reactively, allowing the world to dictate their schedule, while high performers, the founders, CEOs, artists, and leaders, manage it strategically, with fierce intentionality. They do not merely treat time as something to spend, to fill with activity. They treat it as their most precious, non-renewable asset, something to meticulously allocate. They do not fill their days with tasks. They design their days around their highest priorities. They do not ask, "How do I stay busy?" They ask, with laser focus, what single activity, what one action, truly moves the needle. And that's simple, yet profound, shift in questioning changes absolutely everything. Most individuals unknowingly lose massive amounts of time, not through malicious intent, but through a lack of three critical elements: a lack of clarity, a lack of structure, and a lack of intelligent constraints. When you do not possess crystal clear clarity on what matters most, what your true priorities are, then everything begins to feel equally urgent, demanding your immediate attention. When you lack intelligent structure in your day, your attention becomes a hostage, constantly hijacked by interruptions, notifications, and the demands of others. And when you do not impose conscious constraints on your work, Parkinson's law invariably takes effect. Work expands to fill whatever time you generously give it, often resulting in inefficiency. This triad of deficiencies is precisely why so many people feel like they are always working, perpetually busy, yet never truly achieving anything meaningful or experiencing genuine progress. They are living inside a time system built on constant reaction, not on conscious, deliberate intention. This is the opposite of liberty. It is a form of self-imposed servitude to the urgent. Founders, those who build and create, instinctively understand the imperative to build robust systems for time. One of their first, most powerful tools is rigorous prioritization. Not everything deserves your attention, and crucially, not everything deserves your attention now. The overarching goal is not to frantically complete everything on your impossibly long to-do list. The goal is to strategically complete the few vital things that, when accomplished, dramatically change the trajectory of your life, your project, or your organization. This is where the profound idea of leverage becomes absolutely essential. There are tasks with low leverage, maintenance tasks, busy work, administrative errands, shallow communications. These are often necessary but rarely transformative. And then there are tasks with high leverage, strategic planning, deep skill development, building foundational systems, cultivating key relationships, creating original work, and engaging in long-term, visionary thinking. A wise founder understands, with deep clarity, that 1 hour intelligently spent on a high-leverage activity can often produce more meaningful, compounding results than 10 hours mindlessly spent on low-leverage motion. But prioritization alone, while powerful, is not enough. Time also desperately needs containers. Without defined containers, projects bleed into one another, expanding indiscriminately. Your attention becomes fragmented, shattered into 1,000 tiny pieces, and tasks stretch indefinitely. Techniques like time blocking, batching similar activities, and strict scheduling are not merely productivity fads invented by gurus. They are essential constraint mechanisms. They force tasks into defined boundaries, creating focus and urgency. When you batch similar tasks together, all emails at one time, all messages, all administrative work, all creative deep work, your brain remains in the same cognitive mode, dramatically reducing the draining effect of context switching. Context switching is one of the most underrated, yet pervasive, performance killers in modern life. Every switch, however brief, carries a mental cost, a tax on your focus and energy. You simply cannot build powerful momentum if you are constantly resetting your brain, jumping from one disparate task to another. Another key concept that successful founders intuitively grasp is energy management. Not all hours in your day are created equal. Some hours you are razor sharp, brimming with creative energy and mental clarity. Other hours you are foggy, depleted, or simply less focused. Some periods are ideal for creative, divergent thinking. Others better suited for mechanical, convergent tasks. Higher performers, therefore, arrange their schedules around their fluctuating energy levels. not just around the arbitrary passage of time. They strategically place their deep work, writing, planning, building, complex problem-solving, during their peak cognitive hours. They relegate shallow work, emails, routine calls, errands, administrative tasks, to their lower energy periods. This intelligent alignment avoids the tragic waste of prime mental energy on trivial tasks and preserves precious momentum for genuinely meaningful, high-impact work. This is physiological liberty, working with your body's natural rhythms. And then there is the silent drain of decision fatigue. Every single decision you make, from the trivial to the monumental, consumes a portion of your finite cognitive battery. This is precisely why many high performers, from Steve Jobs to Mark Zuckerberg, reduce unnecessary decisions in their lives wherever possible. They wear the same clothes, eat similar meals, establish unvarying planning routines, or cultivate consistent morning rituals. They ruthlessly simplify the insignificant so they can allocate their precious decision-making power to what truly, profoundly matters. Most people, tragically, burn their best cognitive energy on a myriad of micro-decisions before noon, and then wonder why they cannot focus, cannot innovate, or cannot make critical choices when it truly counts. But optimizing time is not just about raw productivity or efficiency. It is also, and perhaps more fundamentally, about protecting your attention. Attention is the sacred gateway to depth, and depth, in turn, is what produces breakthroughs, innovation, and mastery. Yet, modern life, with its endless pings and digital demands, is meticulously engineered to shatter your attention into a million fragments: notifications, messages, alerts, social media feeds. If you do not consciously, rigorously protect your attention, the world, in its relentless pursuit of clicks and eyeballs, will monetize it for you, leaving you creatively and intellectually bankrupt. A true founder guards their calendar with a fierce resolve. They guard their focus with a sacred intensity, and they guard their mental space as if it were the most valuable real estate on earth. They know that every single interruption, however small, carries a hidden cost, and that cost, over time, compounds exponentially. Founders also wisely design for margin, buffer space in their schedules for unexpected tasks, inevitable emergencies, spontaneous creative thought, and simply the quiet space to breathe and reflect. A schedule that is packed at zero margin, operating at 100% capacity, is inherently fragile and will invariably collapse at the first sign of disruption or unexpected demand. Life, by its very nature, is not predictable enough for a zero-margin system to endure. Margin creates stability, and stability, in turn, creates the foundational consistency required for long-term progress. Finally, optimizing your time, like any good system, includes regularly reviewing your time. Without consistent reflection, you cannot discern patterns. You do not know what to eliminate because it is no longer serving you, what to outsource to free up your bandwidth, what to automate for efficiency, or what to truly optimize for greater impact. A simple weekly review, looking back at your calendar and asking, what stole my time? What created significant progress? What needs to be redesigned? Can reveal profound insights. Time systems, like financial or operational systems, only truly improve through consistent feedback and intelligent iteration. When you begin to optimize your time like a strategic founder, with clarity, structure, and intentionality, your life becomes less reactive and infinitely more engineered. You stop being merely busy and start being profoundly effective. You stop living inside the tyranny of the clock and begin instead, to direct the clock. And when your time is consciously directed, strategically allocated, instead of simply spent, success begins to compound, liberating you from the frantic rush and ushering you into a realm of powerful, intentional creation. Chapter 10. Recruit better inputs, not just better effort. Most people operate under a pervasive, yet often flawed, assumption that success is primarily about how hard you work. They cling to the belief that if they just try a little harder, push a little more, grind a little longer, or spend a few more sleepless nights, eventually, through sheer force of will, the breakthrough will magically arrive. But this perspective, while celebrating admirable tenacity, misses a crucial, fundamental truth of systems. Effort without the right inputs is like desperately pouring more and more water into a leaking bucket. You are increasing the volume of your exertion, but you are fundamentally failing to improve the actual outcomes. Systems, by their very design, think differently, more intelligently. They do not begin by asking, "How can I work harder?" Instead, they ask a far more potent question: what are the specific, high-quality inputs that reliably produce the precise output I want? Because when the quality of your inputs consistently improves, the quality and magnitude of your outputs follow automatically, almost inevitably. This is the bedrock of efficiency, the silent amplifier of effort. Inputs, in the grand design of any system, come in a myriad of forms, each contributing to the final result. Information is a critical input. Skill is a powerful input. The tools you employ are essential inputs. The environments you inhabit are pervasive inputs. The relationships you cultivate are vital inputs. Even the feedback you receive is a transformative input. These are the raw materials, the fundamental components that collectively determine what your system is capable of producing. If you feed your system poor, diluted information, or tolerate low standards, or operate with inefficient, outdated tools, it simply does not matter how much raw effort, how much grit, or how much ambition you supply. The output will, by the very laws of cause and effect, be severely limited and mediocre. It is fundamentally impossible to bake a world-class, gourmet cake with spoiled, low-quality ingredients, no matter how vigorously or passionately you stir the bowl. Let us start with informational inputs. We live in an era of unprecedented information abundance, a veritable deluge of content, endless opinions, constant noise, and conflicting, often contradictory, advice. Consuming the wrong, low-quality, or irrelevant information does not merely waste your precious time, it actively leads you down incorrect paths, reinforces flawed assumptions, and distorts your perception of reality. Our performers, the true architects of success, curate their information inputs with the meticulous discernment of a world-class chef curating ingredients for a Michelin star meal. They consciously choose insightful books over ephemeral, random blogs. They seek out knowledgeable, proven mentors over anonymous, often cynical critics. They prioritize rigorous research and vetted data over baseless rumors and social media fads. They relentlessly upgrade their informational inputs, and as a direct, compounding result, their decision-making becomes sharper, clearer, and more effective. This is intellectual liberty, the freedom to choose what shapes your mind. Skill inputs constitute another foundational layer. A system built on weak, underdeveloped skills is inherently fragile and will inevitably collapse under pressure or simply fail to produce the desired quality. Wanting to scale a thriving business without proactively acquiring crucial skills in sales, marketing, operations, or leadership is simply wishful thinking, disguised admirable ambition. attempting to manage and grow significant wealth without a fundamental understanding of finance, economics, and investment principles is akin to driving blindfolded, hoping to reach a destination you cannot see. Skills convert raw effort into profound leverage. The more high-value, in-demand skills you possess, the more each hour of your focused effort is worth, the greater your impact. This is precisely why two individuals can work the exact same number of hours and produce radically different outcomes and income levels. Skill, you see, dramatically changes the conversion rate of effort into results. Then there are tool inputs. Tools, whether physical or digital, fundamentally determine your efficiency, your speed, and the quality of your output. A master carpenter with dull, ill-maintained tools cannot, by definition, outperform a less experienced carpenter equipped with sharp, well-calibrated ones, no matter how motivated or determined the former might be. In our modern digital age, tools encompass a vast array of resources, specialized software, intelligent automation, powerful frameworks, proven systems, and strategic methodologies. Right tools, thoughtfully chosen and expertly utilized, powerfully amplify your output, significantly reduce friction in your processes, and effectively compress time, allowing you to achieve more in less time. Many people, tragically, continue to operate with outdated tools and inefficient workflows, then unfairly blame themselves for their lack of progress when the fault lies with their suboptimal inputs. Feedback is one of the most powerful and often most ignored inputs within any system. Without consistent, honest feedback, the system never truly improves. It merely repeats its current state. Feedback tells you with objective clarity what is genuinely working, what is broken or inefficient, and what aspects of your system desperately need intelligent redesign. But receiving and integrating feedback requires a profound sense of humility. It forces you to confront reality, sometimes an uncomfortable reality, instead of clinging to comforting fantasies. True builders, the perpetual learners, deeply love feedback because they understand it dramatically accelerates the iteration cycle, leading to faster improvement. Amateurs, driven by ego and a fear of inadequacy, often avoid feedback because it threatens their self-perception. Few genuinely desire better results, proactively seek reality, not just comforting validation. Relationships are also invaluable inputs. The people you consciously choose to surround yourself with, your inner circle, your mentors, your collaborators, either powerfully elevate your standards, propelling you towards growth, or subtly normalize your mediocrity, slowly dragging you down. You do not, in the long run, rise to the level of your ambition alone. You rise, far more reliably, to the collective level of your chosen ecosystem. If your ecosystem habitually gossips, complains, avoids responsibility, and finds comfort in stagnation, you will, gradually and unconsciously, absorb those insidious inputs. But if your ecosystem actively builds, learns, experiments, executes, and strives for continuous improvement, you will absorb those empowering inputs too. Humans are inherently mimetic creatures. We learn and internalize behaviors far more effectively through imitation and osmosis than through explicit instruction. Your environment, your chosen tribe, teaches you how to behave, how to think, and what to value, even when no one is explicitly talking about behavior. This is social liberty, choosing your influences. Finally, energy inputs matter immensely. Adequate sleep, nourishing nutrition, consistent physical training, sufficient sunlight exposure, and strategic periods of rest are not luxurious lifestyle choices, but fundamental performance variables, the literal fuel for your human operating system. Many people inadvertently sabotage their own meticulously built systems because they relentlessly try to squeeze productivity out of a body and mind that are chronically depleted, running on fumes. You simply cannot build a high-performance life on low-performance energy. A human machine, like any complex system, requires high-quality fuel, consistent recovery, and diligent maintenance to operate optimally. Energy, in essence, turns raw effort into sustainable capacity. When you consciously begin to recruit better inputs across all these domains, something truly remarkable happens. Your effort, your drive, your ambitions suddenly become far more effective, more potent, and more leveraged, often without any extra struggle on your part. Better inputs raise your entire baseline. They dramatically improve your conversion rate of effort into results. They create an inherent, compounding leverage. Most profound breakthroughs, most significant advancements, do not come from simply pushing harder against a brick wall. They come from intelligently upgrading the fundamental components, the raw materials, that make constant, exhausting pushing unnecessary. The world, in its often simplistic messaging, will continue to tell you to try harder, want it more fiercely, and hustle longer. But the individuals and organizations who consistently win, who build enduring legacies, do not merely push with greater force. They improve the very materials they are working with. They meticulously upgrade their informational inputs. They recruit better tools. They learn superior mental models. They actively seek out honest, constructive feedback. They surround themselves with people who embody higher standards. And when the inputs within your system consistently improve, your effort transforms from an exhausting, uphill battle into a powerful, amplified, and ultimately liberating force for creation. Chapter 11. Systemize relationships and support structures. Success, for all its individual glory and personal achievement, is rarely, if ever, achieved in true isolation. On the surface it might appear to be the solitary pursuit of a brilliant mind or an exceptionally driven individual. Yet, behind every high achiever, every groundbreaking innovation, every powerful personal transformation, and every enduring contribution, there exists an intricate web of people. These are the mentors who offer wisdom, the collaborators who build alongside you, the advisors who provide critical perspective, the partners who share the journey, the supporters who offer unwavering encouragement, and sometimes even the rivals who sharpen your edge through competition. Individuality, whether consciously or unconsciously, profoundly influence the direction, quality, and sustainability of your journey. Yet, most people approach relationships in their lives emotionally, reactively, and entirely at random. They depend on hope, on serendipity, and on sheer luck to build the social and emotional infrastructure required for a life where success becomes repeatable and sustainable. To truly build a life of purpose, impact, and profound liberty, where your systems can thrive, you must consciously and strategically systemize your relationships and support structures. Let us begin with the idea of relational roles. It is a crucial insight that not all relationships serve the same purpose, and therefore, not all relationships should be managed, nurtured, or approached in the same way. To build a robust support system, you need a diverse array of connections. You need peers who genuinely push you, who challenge your assumptions and raise your standards. You need mentors who have walked the path before you, who can guide you with their accumulated wisdom, offering shortcuts and insights. You need collaborators who possess complementary skills and shared vision, with whom you can build something greater than you could alone. You need supporters who offer unwavering encouragement, belief, and emotional resilience, when doubt inevitably creeps in. And yes, even critics, when chosen wisely, can sharpen your thinking and expose blind spots, making your work more robust. When these vital roles are missing from your life's ecosystem, you invariably end up trying to fulfill every single need yourself, learning alone, building alone, thinking alone, struggling alone. That profound isolation, while sometimes romanticized, makes the journey immeasurably harder, significantly slower, and far more exhausting than it ever needs to be. It drains your personal liberty and limits your potential. One of the most valuable time-compressing relationship systems you can cultivate is mentorship. A good mentor is a living, breathing library of distilled experience. They can offer you decades of hard-won insight in a matter of minutes or hours. They can help you gracefully avoid costly, painful mistakes that would otherwise set you back years. Most people, unfortunately, only learn through personal pain, delay, and expensive trial and error. But mentorship, crucially, does not happen by accident. You must proactively create a system to seek it out, to nurture it, and to diligently learn from it. Many individuals mistakenly assume that a mentor should do all the chasing, all the teaching, and all the effort. But the opposite is true. The mentee must drive the relationship with respectful initiative. They must bring well-thought-out questions, provide regular updates on their progress, or lack thereof, offer relevant context, and express profound gratitude for the mentor's precious time and wisdom. When mentorship is intelligently systemized, it scales your wisdom, understanding, and foresight without requiring you to personally experience every single failure. Your peers, the individuals you spend the most time with, powerfully shape your standards, your expectations, and your perception of what is possible. If you habitually surround yourself with people who normalize drifting aimlessly, quitting prematurely, constant complaining, or numbing themselves with endless distraction, your own internal standards will quietly, insidiously lower without you even noticing the erosion. But if your chosen peers normalize lifelong learning, discipline building, effective execution, and continuous improvement, then excellence, responsibility, and growth become your new, liberating default. Humans, being deeply social creatures, naturally mirror the behaviors and attitudes of their group. Therefore, choose your group, your peer ecosystem, with profound intention and wisdom. Choose a group where the prevailing behaviors are genuinely worth mirroring. Then there are collaborators, the people with whom you actively build, create, and achieve. Collaboration, at its best, is a powerful leverage strategy. It intelligently combines complementary skills, accelerates execution, distributes workload, and injects diverse perspectives. Yet, effective collaboration only works when roles are crystal clear, expectations are explicitly aligned, and communication is consistent and transparent. Without robust structure, collaboration quickly devolves into chaos, frustration, and wasted effort. Systemizing collaboration means meticulously defining who does what, how crucial decisions will be made, how conflicts will be respectfully handled, and how mutual accountability will be maintained. When collaboration is intelligently structured, it multiplies results exponentially. When it is unstructured and left to chance, it multiplies stress and resentment. Support networks matter immensely as well, especially emotional support. Success, in our often superficial narratives, is frequently portrayed as a purely logical, intellectual, or strategic pursuit. But a great deal of lasting achievement is, in fact, built on profound emotional resilience. the ability to navigate persistent doubt, profound disappointment, paralyzing uncertainty, and inevitable setbacks. A strong, reliable support system, whether it is family, friends, a therapist, or a spiritual community, keeps you grounded during life's inevitable turbulence. It gently reminds you of your bigger vision when you lose sight of it, when your confidence dips and your resolve wavers. It provides the psychological stability you need to persevere. Many incredibly talented, intelligent people fail not because they lack skill or strategy, but because they lacked that crucial emotional support precisely when they needed it most. Feedback systems also play a critical, often uncomfortable, role in relationship architecture. Objective feedback from others provides an invaluable external perspective. You simply cannot see your own blind spots from the inside. You are too close to the canvas. You need courageous people in your life who are willing to tell you the truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable or challenges your deeply held assumptions. But feedback must also be systemized, not accidental or random. It must come from people who understand the standard you are striving for, who have earned your trust, and who have your best interests at heart. Random criticism from unqualified, often envious, voices is not helpful. It merely confuses and saps your energy. Structured, constructive feedback, delivered with care, dramatically accelerates growth and refinement. Unstructured, ill-informed feedback, conversely, can kill momentum and breed insecurity. One of the most overlooked, yet profoundly impactful, relationship systems is accountability. Accountability fundamentally changes behavior. It introduces a positive, constructive consequence. When you explicitly tell someone you trust that you will deliver on a commitment, you are far more likely to follow through, not wanting to disappoint yourself or them. Accountability partners, regular progress check-ins, and shared goals all create a healthy, self-imposed pressure. Not a destructive, soul-crushing pressure, but a constructive pressure, a gentle but firm force that lifts your standards and compels you to honor your intentions. This is a powerful form of self-imposed discipline in pursuit of greater liberty. Finally, boundary systems are absolutely essential to protect you from relational drag and energy depletion. Not every relationship, no matter how cherished, deserves unlimited access to your time, your energy, or your mental space. Some individuals, unintentionally or otherwise, drain your mental energy, derail your focus, or actively discourage your ambition through their own negativity or lack of vision. Without clearly defined, communicated, and enforced boundaries, even the highest performers burn out trying to carry the emotional weight of others or constantly defending their choices. Boundaries are not selfish, they are structural. They keep your entire life system healthy, functional, and sustainable. A system without intelligent boundaries will, inevitably, collapse under overload. When you consciously choose to systemize your relationships and support structures, you transform your social world from a random collection of individuals into a strategic, thriving ecosystem that consistently fuels your growth, enhances your resilience, and amplifies your impact. You stop hoping for support and passively waiting for the right people to magically appear. Instead, you proactively engineer it. You stop waiting for helpful connections and start intelligently curating them, nurturing them with intention. And once your social environment is consciously structured to uplift and support your highest self, success stops feeling like a heavy, solitary burden and begins to feel supported, scalable, and beautifully sustainable, a true expression of collective and individual liberty. Chapter 12. Delegate, automate, and outsource to scale. Scaling is the ultimate differentiator, the profound chasm that separates effort-based success from true system-based success. Anyone, with forward wit and determination, can push harder for a season. Anyone can white-knuckle their way through a period of intense grinding, fueled by caffeine and sheer willpower. But no one, not even the most driven individual, can outwork the inherent limitations of a 24-hour day forever. If the only pathway you have for making progress, for achieving more, is by simply adding more effort, more hours, or more personal sacrifice to your already stretched life, then you have not truly built a sustainable system. You have inadvertently built a very clever, very demanding trap. You have become the bottleneck in your own potential. Real sustainable scaling begins when you consciously remove yourself as the primary bottleneck and strategically shift your mindset from doing everything to intelligently designing how everything gets done. That pivotal transition from individual effort to systemic orchestration requires the masterful application of three powerful levers: delegation, automation, and outsourcing. These are the tools that liberate you from the tyranny of the urgent and allow your vision to expand beyond your personal capacity. Let us begin with delegation. Delegation is far more than simply assigning a task to someone else. It is the conscious and strategic transfer of responsibility and authority. Many people resist delegation for two primary, yet often flawed, reasons. Either they genuinely do not trust others to execute a task to their exacting standards, or they are unwilling to relinquish a sense of personal control, even if that control is stifling their growth. But high performers, the true system builders, understand a fundamental truth. If every single decision, every minute task, and every major project must inevitably pass through your personal hands, then you become the single point of failure in your entire system. Delegation, when done effectively, requires absolute clarity, clarity of expectations, clarity of deadlines, and clarity of the desired standards. Without this bedrock of clarity, delegation quickly collapses into confusion, frustration, and rework. With clarity, however, delegation becomes nothing short of multiplication, one person's powerful vision, efficiently executed by many capable hands, dramatically extending your reach and impact. But delegation alone, while vital, is not enough to unlock exponential growth. The second lever is automation. What can be automated should be automated. Automation is pure leverage without the need for constant supervision. It systematically removes repetitive, rule-based tasks from your mental and physical plate and transforms them into efficient, reliable background processes. In our hyper-connected digital world, automation opportunities are virtually everywhere. Email sequences for common inquiries, automated payment systems, self-scheduling tools for appointments, intelligent reminders, systematic file management, marketing pipelines that run on their own, data syncing across platforms, automated customer support FAQs, and operational checklists that guide others without your constant input. Every single process you successfully automate frees up a portion of your precious cognitive energy. The more cognitive energy you reclaim from the mundane and repetitive, the more you can intelligently allocate to strategic thinking, groundbreaking creativity, complex problem-solving, and high-level decision-making, precisely the domains where human intuition, judgment, and innovation are still irreplaceable by machines. Then there is outsourcing. Outsourcing, fundamentally, is the strategic act of buying time. Instead of investing countless hours in learning to become a graphic designer, a skill that, while valuable, might not be core to your unique genius, you intelligently hire a professional designer. Instead of spending frustrating hours troubleshooting technical issues on your website, you pay an expert who can solve them efficiently in minutes. Outsourcing should never be viewed as a mere cost. It is a profound conversion. You convert your financial capital into time, and that reclaimed time, in turn, is converted into higher value output, greater leverage, and accelerated progress towards your most important goals. The common mistake people make is believing they cannot afford to outsource. The more potent, strategic question to ask is, can I truly afford not to outsource? If you spend 10 hours struggling with a task that someone else could proficiently complete for, say $50, you have just effectively valued your own time at a mere $5 per hour. Scaling, true scaling, absolutely requires you to raise the internal, perceived value of your own time and apply it where it matters most. Here is a critical, often missed point. You must also wisely determine what not to scale. Not everything needs the cold hand of leverage. Not every activity deserves delegation. Some tasks, some interactions, some creative endeavors intrinsically require your personal touch, your unique voice, your direct engagement. Some crucial decisions necessitate your founder's judgment, your nuanced intuition. Some creative work, by its very nature, must flow through your authentic self. Systems are not about completely removing yourself from everything. They are about strategically removing yourself from everything that does not absolutely require you. This conscious preservation funnels your finite energy, your peak focus, and your unique genius into the truly high-leverage arenas, casting vision, setting strategic direction, inspiring leadership, and fostering groundbreaking innovation. This discernment is vital for maintaining your personal liberty while expanding your impact. Another essential component of effective scaling is documentation. You simply cannot delegate effectively what you cannot clearly describe. You cannot outsource efficiently what you cannot meticulously explain. And you cannot reliably automate what you have not first standardized. Many people fail spectacularly at scaling because their crucial processes and institutional knowledge reside solely within their own heads. They become, in essence, the operating system itself, and no one, not a delegate, not an outsourcer, not even a machine, can replicate the intricate workings of their mind. Documentation externalizes the system. It creates checklists, standard operating procedures, SOPs, templates, scripts, and workflow diagrams. These are not merely corporate bureaucracy. They are powerful tools that transform chaos into predictable, repeatable output. Industries where lives depend on reliability, airlines, hospitals, manufacturing plants, rely on rigorous documentation for a reason. For long-term success, your personal and professional liberty depends on similar reliability. Scaling also demands the astute ability to diagnose bottlenecks. Every single system, without exception, will have a point where progress slows, where flow is restricted. Sometimes the bottleneck is a lack of a specific skill. Sometimes it is insufficient capital. Sometimes it is a key person. Sometimes it is simply a constraint on time or information. The profound job of a builder, a system architect, is not to indiscriminately remove all obstacles, an impossible task, but to accurately identify the one critical constraint that is currently holding everything else back, and then to strategically remove that constraint first. Scaling is rarely about simply doing more. It is, more often, about intelligently freeing the primary constraint that unlocks more. And here is the ultimate mindset shift, a liberating truth often missed. Scaling is not selfish. It is profoundly generous. When you effectively scale your efforts and your systems, You inherently create more value, reach more people, and achieve a greater impact than you ever could alone. You support more customers, serve larger communities, build stronger organizations, and create more opportunities for others. You stop trading your limited hours for linear output, and you start instead trading intelligent design and strategic foresight for exponential output. Most people live inside systems that tragically collapse the moment they stop working. They build a life that functions only when they are constantly pushing, constantly present, constantly battling. But true enduring success, the kind that grants profound personal liberty, is when the machine you have meticulously built keeps running, generating value and progress, even when you choose to step back, to rest, to explore, or to focus on new ventures. Delegation frees your hands. Automation frees your time. Outsourcing frees your mind. Together, they free your future. Chapter 13. Audit the system. Regularly, a system, no matter how brilliantly conceived or meticulously constructed, is only as strong, as effective, and as resilient as its ability to evolve. What works with remarkable efficiency today may become surprisingly inefficient tomorrow. What was considered innovative and cutting-edge last year may be rendered outdated and cumbersome next year. Markets shift, customer needs evolve, personal lifestyles change, priorities realign, external environments present new challenges or opportunities, and for carefully designed system does not consciously adapt, does not gracefully pivot and refine itself with these inevitable changes, it quickly becomes dead weight instead of powerful leverage. This is precisely why regular, rigorous auditing is not merely a good practice, it is an absolutely essential component of long-term success and enduring liberty. Auditing, at its core, is the active prevention of stagnation. It is the mechanism that proactively reveals hidden friction within your processes. It mercilessly exposes waste, inefficiency, and unnecessary complexity. And crucially, it consistently upgrades performance, ensuring your system remains sharp, optimized, and aligned with your highest intentions. Most people, once they have established a set of routines or processes, treat them as immutable sacred cows. They build them once, and then rarely, if ever, revisit them with a critical eye. High performers, however, understand that building routines is only the first step. The true mastery lies in constantly, systematically refining them. Think of it like a complex, high-performance machine, a sophisticated engine, a critical piece of industrial equipment, or even a simple vehicle that never gets regularly inspected, never undergoes routine maintenance, will eventually break down. Bearings wear out, components loosen, efficiency drops, and its output inevitably declines. Maintenance is not a punishment. It is a vital act of protection, of preservation, of foresight. Yet, in our personal lives, we often treat our goals, our habits, our finances, our relationships, and even our internal mental environments as if they were self-sustaining machines that should operate perfectly forever, without any inspection, care, or adjustment. We assume everything will work as long as we care enough or try hard enough. But caring, while important, is not a strategic maintenance plan. Auditing is. Auditing begins with a foundation of profound awareness. It requires stepping back and honestly asking, what specific parts of my system are truly working as intended? What is not working? And most importantly, why? This requires a degree of radical honesty, a willingness to set aside ego and confront reality. Many people, out of comfort or emotional attachment, cling to systems, habits, or routines that once worked beautifully but now merely serve as anchors. But the rule of intelligent systems is simple. If it no longer serves the mission, if it no longer produces the desired value, if it creates more friction than flow, it must be thoughtfully redesigned or courageously removed. You do not keep outdated processes simply out of comfort or nostalgia. You update them, refine them, you replace them out of responsibility to your future self and your highest aspirations. Regular audits should focus on two key dimensions: asterisk, performance, and friction. Performance asks, is this component of my system consistently producing the desired outcome? Is it moving the needle towards my defined success? Friction asks, is this process, this habit, this interaction harder than it fundamentally needs to be? Is there unnecessary resistance here? Sometimes a system might be producing impressive results, but it is doing so at an unsustainably high cost. Too much of your time, too much chronic stress, too much unnecessary complexity. That, my friends, is a form of success without sustainability. And sustainability, particularly in the pursuit of long-term liberty and well-being, matters profoundly. You do not want systems that relentlessly burn you out. You want systems that outlast you, that support your longevity. There are several crucial domains within your life that are consistently worth auditing. Audit your goals. Are they still relevant to who you are becoming? Have your values evolved? Do they need refinement, adjustment, or even a complete overhaul? Audit your habits. Are your daily micro-behaviors still serving the identity you are actively stepping into? Or are some of them relics of a past self you have outgrown? Audit your financial systems. Are you allocating your resources correctly, aligning with your current priorities? Are you investing consistently? Are there silent leaks or unnecessary expenses you can eliminate? Audit your environment, physical, digital. Does it proactively support focus and ease of action, or does it subtly sabotage your intentions with distractions and friction? Audit your social world. Do your chosen peers and relationships normalize growth, accountability, and continuous improvement, or do they inadvertently foster stagnation, complacency, or complaint? Audit your digital world. Are you drowning in a constant flood of distraction and notifications without even realizing the profound cost to your attention and mental bandwidth? Audit your time. Are you spending it intentionally, aligned with your highest values and priorities, or are you reacting to the demands of others and the tyranny of the urgent? Each of these domains, when examined with a critical yet compassionate eye, reveals powerful leverage points for improvement. Another vital part of auditing is the ruthless removal of waste. Waste often hides insidiously in routines that no longer truly matter, in commitments made years ago that no longer align with your purpose, in tasks that no longer produce genuine value, and in obligations that no longer serve your mission or your spirit. Waste often pretends to be productivity. It keeps you busy. It keeps you stressed. It gives you the feeling that you are diligently working, but it fundamentally fails to move the needle on what truly matters. Eliminating waste creates something incredibly valuable. Space. Space in your schedule. Space in your mind. Space in your energy reserves for what actually matters. And space, my friends, is a high-performance asset, a prerequisite for creativity, reflection, and strategic action. The audit process also involves continuous upgrading, not just elimination. Once inefficiencies, bottlenecks, or redundancies are identified, ask these critical questions. Can this be simplified? Can this be automated? Can this be delegated to someone else? Can this be compressed or made more efficient? Can this be standardized into a repeatable process? Optimization, even in small increments, compounds powerfully over time. A seemingly modest 5% efficiency gain when systematically applied and repeated across multiple processes in your life, can, over time, dramatically change your entire trajectory, freeing up immense resources for true liberty. Feedback, as we discussed, should be seamlessly integrated into your audit process. You cannot, by yourself, see everything from the inside. Therefore, proactively seek external perspectives from trusted mentors, wise peers, discerning customers, or other credible voices. Ask them where they perceive bottlenecks, friction points, or areas of potential improvement in your systems. External feedback often reveals crucial insights that internal perspective, by its very nature, hides. But always remember, feedback must come from relevant sources. Not everyone has earned the right, through their experience or wisdom, to influence your carefully constructed system. Finally, effective audits require a consistent rhythm. If you audit your entire life system only once a year, you will react far too slowly to inevitable changes. If you audit every single week, you might create instability through constant, unnecessary tinkering. Systems need sufficient time to operate, to generate data, and to reveal their true performance before they can be intelligently evaluated. A good, balanced rhythm for most people might involve weekly micro-audits, brief check-ins. Did I stick to my process? What small adjustments are needed? Monthly adjustments, a more comprehensive review. What is working? What is not? What needs improvement? And quarterly redesigns, a deep dive. Are my overarching goals still aligned? Does my entire system need a major transformation? Auditing, in its essence, prevents drift. Drift happens quietly, insidiously, almost imperceptibly. You do not notice the subtle shift until the gap between where you want to be and where you are becomes painfully, frustratingly large. Without consistent audits, dreams quietly drift into frustration. Well-intentioned routines drift into stagnation, financial systems drift into imbalance, and personal standards drift into mediocrity. But with regular, intentional audits, you stay aligned, you remain aware, and you cultivate profound adaptivity. That, my friends, is how systems mature. That is how precious momentum is preserved. And that is how long-term sustainable success, accompanied by deep personal liberty, becomes not an accidental stroke of luck, but an undeniable inevitability, a masterpiece of intelligent design. Chapter 14. Replace identity, not just behavior. Most self-improvement attempts, despite their initial enthusiasm and good intentions, ultimately fail for one profoundly simple, yet often overlooked reason. They try to change behavior without first upgrading the underlying identity. Behavior, you see, sits on the surface, the visible manifestation of your choices. Identity, however, resides deep at the foundation, the very core of who you believe yourself to be. Behavior says, I want to do this new thing. Identity, with its quiet but immense power, says, I am the kind of person who does this. And in the eternal battle between fleeting desire, behavioral intention, and deeply ingrained self-perception, identity always wins. You can, through sheer force of will or external pressure, compel yourself to act differently for a while. But eventually, inevitably, you will revert to acting like the kind of person you fundamentally believe yourself to be. Systems become truly powerful, truly transformative, when they initiate a change, not just in what you do, but in who you are becoming. Think about how most people typically approach change. They set ambitious goals, they create elaborate plans, and then they attempt to simply will themselves into new routines through brute force. They might, with great effort, wake up early for a few days, eat spotlessly clean for a week, manage to save some money for a month, or study consistently for a short season. But then, as inevitably as the tide, stress hits. Life gets busy, demanding, and overwhelming. Motivation dips to an all-time low. And with a sigh of resignation, they collapse back into their comfortable, familiar, old patterns. The problem in these scenarios was not a lack of desire. It was not a deficit of intelligence. It was not even, in many cases, an absence of initial discipline. The fundamental problem was that the internal identity, the deep-seated belief about who I am, never truly shifted. And so, the external behavior, lacking a solid, congruent foundation, had nothing substantial to sit on. It was a temporary facade. Identity acts like your brain's inner autopilot, your deeply programmed default setting. If your unconscious identity says, I am not a disciplined person, I am someone who struggles with consistency, then any behavior requiring sustained discipline will always feel temporary, unnatural, and ultimately unsustainable. It will be an uncomfortable costume you wear, rather than an authentic expression of self. If your identity quietly whispers, I'm bad with money, it just slips through my fingers, then financial habits like tracking expenses or consistent investing will feel alien, forced, and ultimately destined to fail. If your identity firmly believes, I am not a healthy person, I am prone to indulgence, then fitness efforts will feel like a constant, burdensome battle against your true nature. People, in a profound way, do not truly sabotage their goals. They meticulously, though unconsciously, protect their deeply held identities. Even negative, limiting identities become a comfortable, familiar prison, precisely because the human brain loves familiarity, predictability, and safety far more than it loves the discomfort of growth and improvement. To truly achieve lasting liberty, you must liberate yourself from a self-limiting identity. To effectively replace a limiting identity with an empowering one, you need to change the fundamental story you live inside. Humans are, at our core, storytelling creatures. We do not just passively experience life, we actively narrate it. We craft intricate explanations for our failures. We rationalize and justify our habits. We excuse our self-defeating patterns and reconstruct powerful beliefs around our past experiences. But here is the liberating truth. These stories are not immutable facts. Stories are interpretations, and interpretations, by their very nature, can be consciously, deliberately rewritten. You do not have to passively inherit the identity that your past experiences or external circumstances might have built for you. You possess the profound agency, the liberty, to build a new one, a stronger, more authentic, more capable identity through the consistent accumulation of undeniable evidence. Identity is not built on wishes. It is reinforced, solidified, and ultimately created by compelling evidence. You become the kind of person who consistently trains when you start showing up for training sessions, even when you do not feel like it. You become the kind of person who is a lifelong learner when you start reading consistently, even for just a few minutes a day. You become the kind of person who wisely manages money when you start consistently tracking your finances and allocating your resources with intention. Every small, consistent repetition of a desired behavior plants a powerful vote for your new, desired identity. This is precisely why small wins are so incredibly potent and why they matter so much. They are not just incremental progress, they are tangible, irrefutable proof to your subconscious mind that I am changing, I am this new person. To initiate this profound shift in identity, begin with powerful, identity-based questions. Instead of what goal do I want to achieve, ask who do I want to become? And then, what will that kind of person, the healthy, disciplined, abundant, creative, free person, do on a normal Tuesday or a difficult Wednesday? Identity, you see, becomes real, tangible, and deeply embedded when it consistently manifests as observable behavior. Writer writes, runner runs, a leader leads. A disciplined person honors commitments. An organized person creates and maintains systems. You do not wait to fall like the identity before acting. You act your way into the identity. The behavior is the evidence that rewrites the story. Environment also plays a crucial role in shaping and reinforcing identity, both positively and negatively. If everyone around you consistently sees you and treats you as the comedian, the procrastinator, the reckless spender, or the unambitious friend, it becomes exponentially harder, a constant uphill battle, to step authentically into a new, more empowering role. Identity is powerfully, often unconsciously, reinforced by social cues. This means that to truly upgrade your identity, you must sometimes strategically upgrade your environment. Intentionally spend time with people who already embody and normalize the identity you aspire to achieve. If you want to be an athlete, being around other athletes makes that identity feel obvious, normal, and achievable. If you want to be an entrepreneur, being around other entrepreneurs makes that path feel reasonable, inspiring, and less daunting. Identity becomes significantly easier to embrace and sustain when it is validated, supported, and normalized by your social sphere. There is yet another profound dimension to this: language, the words you consistently use, both internally in your self-talk and externally in your communication, profoundly shape your beliefs and, by extension, your identity. Saying, "I am trying to quit smoking," carries a vastly different energetic and identity-reinforcing message than saying, "I am not a smoker." Saying, "I'm trying to get healthy," is fundamentally different from saying, "I am a healthy person." Your language, with its precision and its power, crystallizes your identity. And your identity, in turn, directly and powerfully directs your behavior. Replacing identity is not about pretense, delusion, or magical thinking. It is about profound, conscious alignment, aligning who you authentically are with how you consistently live, aligning your meticulously built systems with your highest standards, aligning your daily habits with the empowering story you choose to narrate for yourself. When that deep-seated identity finally shifts, the entire system, the daily behaviors, the automatic choices, they change almost effortlessly because the system now perfectly matches the operator. When people finally achieve long-term, sustainable success, it is rarely, if ever, because they miraculously found more motivation or discovered some hidden surge of willpower. It is because they became someone for whom the desired behaviors felt utterly normal, natural, and congruent. When you replace identity, not just behavior, success stops being something you have to constantly fight for and becomes something you beautifully, authentically express, an inherent aspect of your personal liberty. Chapter 15. Let time multiply the system. The final, and perhaps most profound, advantage of intelligently designed systems is not speed, although efficiency is a byproduct. It is majestic, relentless power of compounding. Our modern world, with its insatiable hunger for instant gratification, relentlessly celebrates quick wins, viral sensations, and mythical overnight results. But the true, enduring gains, the foundational transformations, the legacies that outlast generations, these come not from explosive sprints, but from time, quietly and consistently multiplying the robust systems you have meticulously built. Time is the ultimate amplifier. It takes seemingly insignificant small actions and, through persistent repetition, transforms them into overwhelmingly large outcomes. It takes modest incremental improvements and, through the magic of compounding, transforms them into massive, often unrecognizable transformations. But here is the critical caveat. Time can only multiply what already exists. If your routines are chaotic, time will relentlessly multiply chaos. If your habits are destructive, time will amplify destruction. If your systems, however humble, are consistently effective, time will inevitably multiply effectiveness. Time does not care what you feed it. It simply compounds it, for better or worse. This is precisely why the most successful people, the great builders and thinkers throughout history, instinctively play long-term games. They do not obsess over what they can extract or achieve today, this week, or even this year. They obsess, with profound strategic clarity, over what their carefully constructed system will reliably produce 5, 10, even 20 years from now. They understand that if you relentlessly focus on building and maintaining the machine, rather than frantically chasing the fleeting moment, the future, to an astonishing degree, becomes a predictable, engineered place. This is foresight in action, a cornerstone of personal liberty. But the vast majority of people are perpetually stuck in short-term cycles. They crave the result now, the reward now, the external validation now. They are willing, often unconsciously, to sacrifice the magnificent, exponential compounding effect of time in exchange for immediate, fleeting gratification. That trade-off, my friends, is always expensive in the long run. It is the high cost of impatience. Compounding works its magic differently in various arenas of life. In finance, compounding is purely mathematical. Dollars, intelligently invested, produce more dollars, which then produce even more dollars, in a never-ending growth cycle. In skills, compounding is developmental. Each new skill you acquire builds upon and enhances your existing skill set, creating a powerful stack of competence. In relationships, compounding is relational. Consistent trust deepens, opportunities multiply through your network, and your influence subtly expands. In health, compounding is physiological. Small, consistent behaviors, good sleep, mindful eating, regular movement, produce massive, cumulative biological changes over time that defy any single heroic effort. When you zoom out far enough, when you gain sufficient perspective, compounding emerges as the invisible, relentless engine behind virtually every form of long-term, sustainable success. Fundamental mistake is thinking that compounding happens quickly. Compounding, by its very nature, is agonizingly slow at first, brutally slow, in fact. There is a long, often frustrating, flat curve where it feels as if absolutely nothing is happening. This is precisely the point where most people, starved for immediate evidence and instant gratification, prematurely quit. They fail to realize that the compounding curve has distinct, often deceptive stages. The first stage is accumulation, slow, unrewarding inputs. The second stage is acceleration, noticeable growth. And the third stage is explosion, results that look miraculous to everyone else. The accumulation stage, while crucial, feels intensely unrewarding. The acceleration stage feels exciting and validating. The explosion stage, often mistaken for an overnight success, looks nothing short of miraculous to those who have not observed the preceding decades of quiet, consistent effort. But true miracles in the world of systems are simply the final, visible stage of a deeply embedded, diligently executed compounding system. This is why patience is not a passive virtue. It is, in fact, strategic fuel. Patience is the powerful lubricant that allows compounding to complete what it has started. Patience grants your system enough crucial time to operate, to generate data, and to ultimately prove its efficacy. Impatience, on the other hand, is the ultimate enemy of compounding, because impatience relentlessly demands visible, immediate progress constantly. And real, profound progress rarely, if ever, reveals itself on your impatient schedule. If you require immediate, undeniable evidence that something is working, you will, with near certainty, abandon every promising system long before it has the opportunity to pay off its magnificent dividends. True builders, the architects of lasting success, do not demand instant proof. They demand consistent execution, day in and day out, trusting in the process and the power of time. But compounding does not just require patience, it also demands vigilant protection. Anything that fundamentally breaks your system, that disrupts its consistent operation, essentially resets the compounding curve, often sending you back to day one. In finance, it is reckless debt accumulation or panic selling during market volatility. In health, it is a catastrophic injury or chronic neglect of your well-being. In business, it is an operational collapse or a fundamental misstep in strategy. In personal growth, it is crippling inconsistency, abandoning routines, or succumbing to self-sabotage. Longer a system runs without interruption, without significant breaks in consistency, the more powerful, the more magnificent, the compounding effect becomes. Many people are not failing because their system does not work. They are failing because they reset their system too often, always chasing the next new thing, always starting over. Every single reset, however well-intentioned, sends compounding back to its slow, unrewarding beginning. Consistency, therefore, is the indispensable carrier of compounding. It is not the intensity of effort that produces outsized results, but the continuity of effort. Showing up every single day, however modestly, beats showing up dramatically, but sporadically. Doing something small consistently for 10 years unequivocally beats doing something huge, but only for 3 months. The world, with its love of spectacle, worships intensity, because intensity is highly visible and dramatic. Compounding in its quiet wisdom worships consistency, because consistency is profoundly durable, reliable, and ultimately unstoppable. Intensity impresses people. Consistency, on the other hand, builds empires, personal and otherwise. Another powerful dimension of compounding is leverage. Once a foundational system is meticulously built and running efficiently, you gain the incredible ability to layer more complex systems on top of it. Skills stack upon skills. Relationships deepen and expand, creating new opportunities. Assets accumulate and generate more assets. Lessons learned from one domain become applicable to another. Confidence, perhaps the most valuable internal asset, compounds exponentially. Your life, rather than being a series of isolated, disconnected sprints, becomes a multi-system engine, humming with efficiency, without you needing to reinvent your entire identity every single year. The person who successfully builds a robust writing system can later, with greater ease, build a powerful publishing system. The person who masters a personal fitness system can later build a high-performance athletic system. The person who establishes a sound financial system can later build a sophisticated investment system. Systems, you see, not just produce results, they produce profound optionality and the freedom to pursue even grander visions. But perhaps the most powerful, most deeply personal part of compounding is identity compounding. When you repeatedly, consistently act in alignment with your intelligently designed systems, you begin to fundamentally see yourself differently. You trust yourself. You know with unshakable conviction that you are capable of executing or following through on your commitments. Confidence, that most precious internal resource, becomes an internal, self-generated force, no longer borrowed from external validation or fleeting successes. And once that profound self-confidence compounds, you stop operating from a place of insecurity, doubt, or constant striving for external approval. You start operating instead from a place of profound personal sovereignty, of self-possession, of authentic liberty. In the end, time is the ultimate partner, the benevolent ally. If you attempt to succeed without the steadying, amplifying power of systems, time will inevitably become your relentless opponent, constantly reminding you that you are running out, that you are falling behind. But when you wisely choose to build robust, adaptable systems, time transforms into your greatest ally, constantly multiplying what you have already put into motion, generously amplifying your every consistent effort. That, my friends, is the transformative moment when success stops being a frantic chase and becomes an unstoppable trajectory. The machine runs, the results accumulate with quiet dignity, and the future, predictably and beautifully, bends in your favor. It is the ultimate expression of a life intelligently designed and freely lived. Conclusion. The modern world, in its relentless pursuit of more, teaches us to chase success as if it were a fleeting phantom, an elusive prize just beyond our grasp. We are conditioned to pursue the trophy, to obsess over outcomes, to hunger for external validation, and to compete frantically in a race without ever pausing to question the fundamental design of the race itself. But throughout this audiobook, Build Systems, Not Goals, you have learned something different, something older, quieter, and infinitely more powerful. You have discovered that success is not something you chase in vain. Success is something you build, meticulously and intentionally, into the very fabric of your life, through intelligently designed systems. Systems are the resilient, adaptable structures that produce desired outcomes repeatedly, predictably, and sustainably. They are the invisible architecture that translates abstract desire into concrete behavior, transforms consistent behavior into a fortified identity, shapes that identity into a fulfilling lifestyle, and elevates that lifestyle into a lasting legacy. Systems remove the exhausting need for constant, fleeting motivation. Systems proactively eliminate friction, making progress feel natural rather than forced. Systems are designed to adapt gracefully as you grow, as your priorities evolve, and as the world inevitably changes. And crucially, systems allow time, that most potent of forces, to multiply your consistent efforts instead of slowly erasing them through neglect and inconsistency. When your systems are built well, when they are maintained with vigilance and refined with intelligence, success eventually has no choice but to arrive. It becomes natural, inevitable consequence. But let us reiterate this foundational truth. Systems are not built overnight, in a single burst of genius or effort. They are constructed patiently, piece by precious piece, with the foresight of an architect and the steady hand of a builder. They begin with absolute clarity, the unwavering knowledge of what you actually want your life to be, and more importantly, why it profoundly matters to you. They evolve through process, the strategic act of breaking down grand, inspiring goals into small, repeatable, manageable actions. They are powerfully supported by carefully engineered environments that effortlessly make the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder, allowing you to flow with less resistance. They scale your impact and reach through the strategic levers of delegation, automation, outsourcing, and thoughtful collaboration. They endure through diligent audits, consistent adjustments, and regular maintenance, ensuring they remain relevant and robust. And ultimately, they compound their magnificent returns through the unwavering, patient march of time. The beautiful, liberating truth about systems is that they do not demand perfection. They only require unwavering consistency. They do not ask you to be an extraordinary, superhuman individual every single day. They simply ask you to show up, to engage the process, however modestly. They do not demand heroic, unsustainable bursts of effort. They demand sustainable, intelligent effort, applied with relentless regularity. Systems, in their quiet efficiency, turn the seemingly extraordinary into the beautifully inevitable by making progress a natural, integrated part of everyday life, rather than the elusive result of rare, unpredictable bursts of inspiration or willpower. As you conclude this audiobook, let the question in your mind fundamentally shift. It is no longer, how do I succeed? The deeper, more empowering question becomes, what robust, intelligent, and adaptable systems must I build into my life so that success, defined on my own terms, becomes the natural, undeniable output of my existence? This profound mindset shift is precisely what separates those who merely wish from those who build, those who perpetually hope from those who strategically architect, those who merely dream from those who meticulously design. You do not need more motivation to fuel your temporary sprints. You do not need more frantic hustle that only leads to burnout. You do not need more fire which eventually consumes itself. What you truly need is enduring machinery, resilient structures, deeply ingrained habits, intelligently designed environments, and an empowering identity that all work tirelessly on your behalf. Especially and most powerfully on those days when you feel depleted, distracted, or simply do not feel like working at all. If you commit from this moment forward to diligently building these systems, the future will, with astonishing predictability, take care of itself. Results will appear like the fruit of a well-tended tree. Momentum will grow, becoming an unstoppable force. Opportunities will surface, seemingly out of nowhere. Confidence will solidify, becoming an internal anchor. And time, that relentless master, will finally transform into your most powerful, benevolent ally instead of a constant, nagging enemy. So from this moment forward, stop measuring your life solely by its external output. Instead, measure it by the inherent strength, the quiet resilience, and the intelligent design of the systems that create those outputs. Because when the system is strong, when the machinery is sound, success does not require constant, exhausting force. It simply, gracefully unfolds. Build systems first. Success will follow. Thank you for joining us on this transformative journey. This has been Build Systems, Not Goals, a production of Liberty Audiobook. We hope these insights empower you to architect a life of intentional success and profound personal liberty.